lot of people will ask is, when do I have to register for HST, and how do I file it, and how do I remit it? And actually, Rob, the accountant, is going to be touching on that later. But what I do want to touch on is the importance of, because many businesses have frequent reporting periods for HST, it becomes very important as you grow to stay very organized with your bookkeeping. And there's very many ways you can do this. A common way, a lot of small owner managed businesses, when they get started, like for example, a photographer or a massage therapist, they don't have a lot of volume of transactions. So when they're first getting started, I've set up a lot of people with an Excel spreadsheet. And it's amazing what you can do with an Excel spreadsheet. If you're cost conscious when you're starting out, of course, you're spending a lot of money on equipment and getting organized. An Excel spreadsheet can be a very powerful tool in keeping track and coordinating all of your income, HST collected, all of your expenses, and your HST paid. You can even use it to create year-to-date calculations so that you can be keeping track of tax planning as you go along through the year. So here's the importance of really good bookkeeping and keeping up to date. There may come a time when you're going to want financing, and you're going to go to the bank or your mortgage broker, and you're going to ask for, I'd like to get qualified for financing, and they're going to say, okay, we need your records, and you're going to go, well, I've got a bag of receipts. What do you need? So it's for that reason alone, that's one really good reason, just to stay up to date and keep everything very well organized. Another reason is, as you are generating business income, you are generating a tax bill to the government. And that tax bill is going to come up. And when it comes up, it's going to be a bigger shock than you're expecting. A lot of people generate more income than they realize as they're going along. So another reason to keep your income and expenses up to date is because at any point in time, then you can do a tax planning session with an accountant and say, you know what, year to date, what would I owe now if I was to file my taxes? And you know what, I'm trending somewhat similar. What should I be tucking away? And we can do some tax planning with you. Another good reason is management decision making. A lot of times, again, you can be spending money and not realizing how much you're spending on various categories. It's incredible, as I'm doing financial coaching with people all the time, it's incredible how many people spend money eating out. They don't realize how much they're eating out, and it blows them away when they tally up all their money spent, and oh my gosh. So the best advice that I can give you guys when you're going out on your own and starting your own business is being very conscious of where your money is coming from. So do you have referral sources? Where are you spending money advertising, and is it working? So keeping track every time you get a new client, hey, where did you hear from me? Who told you about me? Where did you see my name? And also your expenses, very, very important. I see people getting into trouble all the time with this. Keeping track of every dollar spent and being intentional, having that intentional mindset with spending your money. If you guys are starting your business, it's going to be so important to keep good, positive cash flow. So it's so easy to, oh, I'll just buy this and buy that, and I need that, and I need that. And you just need to be very, very aware that you are going to have that tax bill. So don't be spending all your money as you've got it coming in. But not only that, you just want to be very aware. Every dollar you spend, is it for the purpose of generating income? Is it going to help you grow your business? Is it going to help you secure this client? So just be really, really intentional. That's got nothing to do with bookkeeping or accounting, but that's the financial counselor in me. So that's very, very good tip to get off on the right foot with that. So Trish, I think I've used up my time. I'm
Yes.
not sure what we're supposed to be talking. Okay. Okay, I'm going to be quiet now.
Yeah. So Annette is very passionate about financial, I guess, literacy, I guess we could call it, maybe, like, yeah. And so I mean, you've already started off on your presentation, so and so we'll move on to the next member. But what I would like, maybe, Annette, when we kind of circle back, can you suggest, and you and I have had this conversation because I am that analytic, I need to see everything. Like I need to see where my buckets are, how much money am I spending, how much, where should I be putting my dollars? And how do I organize? Because I think systems, we've talked about this a lot in our class about systems and how to make sure that you are creating a system that works for you. And part of the I call it a disorder on my part because I'm so sometimes just scattered. And we were talking about where are my buckets, like how, like where do I put this? How, like, do I have one for just backdrops, just props? And it really comes down to, of course, with me, I want to see how different, how much I'm spending where. Because I'm kind of I'm more of a control freak that way. Some people will just put it all into the same bucket, but I know I'm a hoarder of backdrops, props not so much, but backdrops I could like spend money any day of the week on them. Um, so when we circle back, maybe, you know, think of some buckets that are basic, the ones that we need to know when we're spending that money, or we're you know, everybody can invoice, everybody loves to invoice, everybody loves to send the invoice out, give me the money, give me the money, show me the money, baby, I love it. But I am really crappy at organizing my expenses, and understanding how to differentiate between, you know, this is food when I go out, this is food when I'm traveling, this is my travel expense for X, Y, and Z, and so on. So maybe kind of if you can circle back to that when we come back to you, I think that would be highly appreciative. And I'm sure everyone else will have some questions as well. So we are going to go ahead with just a 30 to 60-second intro. And it's like a big giant Brady Bunch square. So I'm just going to go up the square, and Jessica, you're the next one in my square. If you want to just introduce yourself real quick in that 30 to 60 seconds, and then we'll move on to the next person.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Jessica. I am the managing director for BNI Ontario Central North. So I oversee 18 chapters and 327 members. And how I got into BNI is I was in Vancouver. I'm from Vancouver, and I started a social media business. And I didn't do any marketing, and I'm a social media manager, or was. I didn't do any marketing. All my clients were 100% from referrals from BNI. So I strongly believe that referrals, word of mouth marketing is the best way to grow your business. And I am new in this position for BNI. However, I'm not new with networking. I am not new with referrals, and I'm not new with how to gain new clients. So I will be discussing a little bit about what referrals are, how we can gain referrals through building relationships, and talking a little bit about how important body language is. So I'll spend my 10 minutes doing that. So I'm excited to chat with you guys. Thank
I'm
you.
excited too. You sent me the notes, and it's like this little game that you got. I think it's going to be
It was
exciting.
cute. It's fun.
Fun. It's fun. Thank you so much for coming. And I know you have a busy schedule, so I appreciate it.
No, I'm glad to be here.
Nick is actually a Sheridan alumni from the Oakville campus, which is fabulous. And he's our resident jokester, but also super awesome smart guy. And we don't know what's going to come out of his mouth, you guys. So I'm just pre-warning you that sometimes it could be a little bit shocking.
Neither do I, which is
Yeah,
why it's so fun for
that's why it's so
everybody.
fun. So
It's a full-time acid trip up here.
it
It's awesome.
this is why we don't record classes, just so you all know.
Or
Nick,
anything I
this
say
is
at
why we
all.
don't record this class. Nick, if you want to just introduce yourself to our friends.
Sure, yeah. So I'm also part of BNI for those who know or don't know about it. That's how Trish, myself, and Jessica kind of know each other. My business is all about branding and web design and content marketing. So I do a little bit of what I guess Jessica's claim to fame is, which is social media marketing. But what I really love to do is build awesome, badass websites for people, because that tends to be their whole hub online. That tends to be their whole crux, their foundation for their brand online. No matter how people are going to find you, whether they find you through some organic content or a traffic source like you run ads, or you do hardcore networking like face-to-face networking like BNI, eventually someone's going to have to get back to your hub of your main foundation, your main hub of services, and that's your website. And even if they don't know about you, I feel that visibility is very, very important in 2024 and going forward. So the first thing anyone's going to do ever when they're looking for your services ever is to Google you. And if you are not visible and you are not showing up and you do not have if you don't have skin in the game on Google and you aren't visible there, you are really missing out and you are really losing. So a part of web design services, they can't just look pretty, they have to be functional. So there's a little bit of SEO that is built into them. There's some really strong copywriting. And I don't mean just throw something together through ChatGPT and hope it spits out pages for you. I mean hiring a real copywriter. So when we build websites for our clients, there's an SEO audit, there's strong SEO keyword stuff that goes into it, there's strong copywriting that goes into it. That informs the rest of the design on the pages. And then I get to work and I can build cool identities like logos and brand style guides and make it all pretty and stuff. And the pretty part of it comes after the functionality to make sure that we have all of our keywords and messaging in the pages, to make sure that the next time someone Googles services like yours, Google will be able to comb those pages and find your keywords and go, is this what you wanted, user? And then that's, on-page SEO. That's very, very rudimentary, elementary way of explaining what SEO is. But you want to make sure that you're doing those things so that you're findable, you're searchable, you're visible. So I believe that modern websites can't just look pretty. They actually have to function and do something. And the doing the something for you is making sure that you're visible, making sure that you rank as high as you can. As a new business if you have no web presence at all, and you have no website to speak of, you'll be behind the 8 ball a little bit, because there's 100 other photographers in front of you who are on Google before you, who have been doing SEO a little bit longer before you. But that's okay, you can catch up. And the way I know you can catch up is because I just built an HVAC website for somebody here in Aurelia, and there's about 13 other HVAC companies around us who are very, very strong. And before we started working together, he was not on the first page of Google. And I didn't guarantee him first page of Google because I'm no SEO expert. I know a little enough to be dangerous, but I did not guarantee him top of Google or first page. I didn't guarantee him any of that. Well, a week after we launched, somehow he has shown up on the first page of Google. His HVAC business is now on the first page of Google. And the reason that this is important is because we're talking about expanding the website and making even more pages happen. And he shoots me an email. He goes, someone filled out my form on the website, and that hasn't happened in like 11 years. My junk piece of crap website that you replaced with this nice Squarespace one, I haven't had a lead from the internet in like 11 years. And so the fact that you just got one, with this brand new look and feel of a website. And I told him, I said, it's not just because it looks pretty, it's because it functions the way it's supposed to function now. So it's findable, it's searchable, and he's now competitive. And I can think of very few things more competitive than photography in today's day and age. And so those are all a few tricks that you wanna kind of implement as best as you can. If I was building a photography website today, there would only be 2 things that I'm very concerned with. One, the quality of the work has to be, I can't explain to you clearly enough how banging the quality of your work has to be. It has to be stunning. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you just do headshots, if you do automobile photography, if you do landscape, if you do corporate stuff, if you do more family stuff, weddings. I don't care what you do. It had better be oozing with quality. You guys are the masters of light. You guys know how to do all that. The work had better sell you. After that, the most important thing that you can do as a favor to me is put your pricing on your website. Okay, that is what people are shopping for. I guarantee you, because I just got married in September, and that is all I was shopping for. My wife, fiance at the time, was like, oh, that one's pretty, and I like that. She was looking at portfolios. I was like, how much? That one, I can associate the value of that with a price right now. And that one is less quality to me, so that one had better have lower numbers. And that's how I was thinking. I was thinking kind of strategically. Not to diminish the art, not to piss all over the quality of the artist's work, but I'm looking at something. It's kind of like when you're shopping for cars. I accept the fact that a Mustang costs more than a Honda Civic. I accept that, but I really, really, really want the Mustang, so I'm willing to accept the higher dollar figure, right? So we can all kind of build value stacks in our head of what something is worth and what something is not. However, I encourage you to put your pricing on your website and make it very clear and obvious what the services are. So if it's, full day package for a wedding, 2,500, 3,500, whatever it is. If it's just a single headshot or, 2 hours spent with a client on an afternoon for headshots, $400 package, whatever it is, make it absolutely clear what your services cost, because people do not want to fuck around. They do not want to be time wasting. They are looking for if they can afford you. And I assure you, if they're looking for photographers in Barrie or photographers in Aurelia, there's 30 tabs open on their screen right now, and they're just price shopping, right? And what you want to do is you want to guarantee yourself a short list, right? If they're going to send out a bunch of emails today or fill out some contact forms or pick up the phone, you want to make sure you're on that short list for them today, right? So you just want to make sure that your work is outstanding, that your pricing is clear, super clear for people to find. Just a pricing tab. It just has to be a separate page on your website. And then after that, a very super stupidly easy way to contact you, a form, right? Name, first and last name, email, phone number. Get phone numbers, guys. Get phone numbers, because perhaps in a future chat with Trish, I can show you how to do a follow-up sequence with like text messaging and stuff like that. And anyone who's ever been on your website, you can kind of market to them and stuff like that. Hey, were you looking for photography? And when you text them, you might be able to follow up that way. Get phone numbers. Also, so you can call them. You have no idea how many deals are over the phone still today in 2024. So have a fill out form, a contact form, something that goes to your email right away so that you can chase down that lead right away and make that business happen for yourself. So I would say, as a new photographer, I want to see banging work. I want to see pricing, and I want to see a simple, easy way to contact you that is super, super easy for me to fill out a form or something like that. Everything else after that doesn't really matter. Don't worry about branding. I'm a branding guy. Don't worry about branding. Oh, my logo has to be perfect. Go on Upwork, spend $100 or $150 getting a logo, and just
Nick,
make
you're
it your
killing me
name
right.
or your brand. It doesn't have to, when you're starting out, what you need is clients. What you need is more business through the door. And you just need your work to scream, and then you need clear pricing, and you need a clear way to contact you. And that's what you need right away. You can worry about your brand as you build up your brand, and as you work, those other things will come, right? So I am speaking about branding, but I'm also speaking about like websites and the functionality and making sure that they can find, that the business can find them, right?
So, and we're going to circle back because Greg is actually our website guy who's going to talk about.
Sorry, Greg. Stole your thunder, buddy.
Y'all can duke it out later. Right now, I know there's a wealth of information in here. And I know that when we had that conversation, Nick, we were talking about branding, and that was the big thing for Nick. He messaged me directly and was like, please, can I talk about pricing on their websites? And
Yeah,
I'm like,
because it's
I
really
know
important.
that's a thing for you.
It's really important.
It's a thing for me, and my students know that. I'm like, if people have to ask, they're not going to call you. Like, that's basically it. Because unless they have billions of dollars where they don't have to worry about money, they're not going to call you, right? So that's my thought process on that.
I think as a photographer, your brand is your work. That's it.
Yes.
Like, you're showing your brand. I don't care what services you have, whether it's headshots or whatever it is you want to do. You're showing the quality of your work. That's your brand right now.
Yeah.
And your clients will sniff that out. They'll be able to see that.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump up to Greg. So Greg can introduce himself.
I'm sorry, Greg. If I go ahead and undo
everything. Oh, not at all, Nick. Not at all. The good.
I can't wait till we duke it out over chat.
I'm gonna add to Nick. When it comes to price, don't sell yourself short. You can always come down on price. You can do that promotionally. You can do that in a ton of different ways. Do not sell the quality of your work down the drain. If someone's not willing to pay your rates, they're not worth having as a client. So that can be a tough pill to swallow when you're starting out and you're looking at the expenses climb, but don't sell yourself short. You can always bring price down. Number one thing, any company, doesn't matter whether it's a Fortune 100, 200, they always leave price on the table. So try not to do that. Anyway, my name's Greg. Thanks for having me. As it's probably become evident, I'm in the digital space as well. I am going to talk about websites. I'm going to catapult on top of, pretty much everything Nick just said about, a website is the center point of your digital strategy online. End of story. That could probably wrap up the whole pitch, but I'm pretty sure Trish will be sending me some hate notes a little bit later on
No,
why
she'll send them to me, Greg. That's
why
I deserve it.
what we should have done is we probably should have collaborated and done a duet presentation. That would have been
Well,
good.
maybe if I didn't go off script, it's my
No,
fault.
it's like how do you it's digital. It all blends together. You can't
Well, that's
talk,
it, yeah.
right? You're gonna
Well,
talk
you know what, you guys, it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And the digital spectrum is certainly one of those giant
Dynamic.
elephants that
Getting
can maybe even bigger than, maybe like a herd. So it certainly is one of those things that we could talk about for days and days. And one of the things that I explained to the students, we have 14 weeks for me to try and touch base on all the different aspects of starting a business, owning a business, running a business, marketing your business, being the face of your business, understanding your pricing, your accounting, your everything. And so I can only give them so much information because, as I say from the beginning, I am a photographer. I am not a digital expert. I am not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper. I am, I'm pretty decent at networking. I will say that, but I am not the queen of networking by any means. But it's, everybody has so many hats in this business. So every aspect that we've brought in here, I brought in the experts because I feel like you guys can kind of just bring it in, round it out. And I mean, of course, if any of the students are interested, they can certainly book a call with anybody here. But yeah, so we're going to circle back because I want to make sure that everybody gets introduced first, and then since Rob is here, then we can start with Rob as well. But before we get to Rob, David, please introduce yourself, 30 to 60 seconds, and then we'll pop down to Rob, and then we'll start the actual full presentation so that we can get the show on the road. So
when you're done.
Certainly, yes. So I'm David Pataki, your FS Matrix. So I've been an entrepreneur for 30 plus years. I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs. I've learned, I've researched, I've read, I've taken courses. I have a pretty good idea of what it takes to be a successful business. I don't know the ins and outs like the digital people out there as far as deep dive, but I know what needs to happen. So what I do is I just help business owners identify where their shortcomings in their business, and I help create a roadmap to make sure that they can overcome those and create a successful business. That's what I do in a nutshell.
that's amazing. Thank you. So similar to the business plan, but what David does is he'll actually really narrow in on what you want to focus in on, and help you hone in on that one particular thing that you might be struggling with. And so we're very lucky to have him here. And then of course we have one of our alumni who's joined us on pretty much every single panel that I have had since joining BNI, and I am so grateful for him and his mentorship and his friendship. Mr. Rob Newman, CPA, is in the house, friends. Rob, if you want to introduce yourself to my friends, that would be great.
Good evening. Sorry I was late. I had a Rotary meeting to attend to prior to this one. So Rob Newman Accounting. I have been an accountant since before I lost my hair. And I graduated in 1981, so that's a long time ago. And I spent a lot of my career in large organizations. I was controller of the real estate division for the Bank of Montreal. So we gave the bankers a place to do building. We built, bought, sold whatever the bankers needed. So in 1994, they suggested I seek career alternatives outside the bank, and I became self-employed. And so I've been self-employed since 1994 and doing what I do best. So, and I like to help small businesses because that's where I work. I work with small business owners.
I love it when you say, you do what you do best. And I'm like, I always want to say, and outsource the rest. Like
that'll come. Do what you do best and outsource the rest.
I love it. It's like this is the tagline that Rob uses. in our B9 chapter every week, and I feel like it should be the mantra of all things. I've actually used it in this class a few times. I'm pretty sure everybody can attest to that here as well. So thank you for that, my friend. Okay, so at the beginning of any and every business, we certainly want to make sure that we know what direction we are going in. We have had the opportunity to talk about owning a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or a corporation. And I think for the most part, pretty much everyone here is planning on becoming a sole proprietor for the most part. I know that there may be a partnership between Fabian and Diane. They happen to be married. So, oh, look, Fabian's like, forget it. I'm not working with her. I already live with her, which is funny as heck. You guys are the best. So otherwise not, I believe it's a sole proprietorship for the most part for everyone starting here. And, you know, as Rob, as you explained it to me, many meetings, many one-to-ones ago, just because you started as a sole proprietor doesn't mean you have to stay a sole proprietor. So what I thought might be really great for everyone, and it's the one question that every new business has and they get, or business owner has, and I know for me, it was an anxiety point, taxes. When do I start charging HST? How does it work? Do we, you know, what is all the things? And that's a big question, I think. And I'm sure everyone here is curious about that as well. So I would love to hear more about what you, and not those funny little themes that you were sending me earlier via email. We'll do it the legal way for these guys.
You didn't like those topics?
Those topics, listen, accountants are funny. Even if you guys don't think they are, this guy here is a joker. So he sent me some very interesting topics, and I showed them all
Can
for
I
you.
talk about tax filing as a myth?
That's right. Tax filing is a myth. That was his topic.
Okay, no, tax filing is not a myth. So HST. Now, you're going to start off, you're going to start collecting money. And one things I recommend to my sole props when they start off is register for HST right away. I guess the thing is, do people understand what HST is? Do I get a show of hands about people who do not understand what HST is?
I know that I have explained it, but again, I'm a photographer, not an accountant.
So we start off with GST. GST is a federal tax of 5%. Everybody in Canada is going to charge GST. In some provinces, it used to be Ontario and East. We all have PST. What the provinces said was, hey, feds, why don't you collect our tax for us? So that's why it's called harmonized. Harmonized means it's collecting provincial sales tax and federal sales tax in the same go. So what happens is the provincial sales tax in Ontario is 8%. The federal sales tax is 5%. So we're paying 13% HST. So that's the way it is in Ontario, except Quebec and all the eastern provinces. The western provinces, they charge GST and PST. So if you're going to be selling out west, if you're selling the products out west, you have to make sure you sell and collect tax in the jurisdiction that you're selling it to. So if you're selling out to Alberta, for example, you're only going to collect 5% HST or 5% GST rather. So you must register for HST if your sales are $30,000 or more in they say 4 calendar quarters, but I look at that as a year. So as soon as you reach the $30,000 mark, you must register. You must register and start collecting and remitting. Now, when you register, you have 3 choices. You can register and remit annually, quarterly, or monthly. Now, Annette's going to talk about how you're going to track those expenses and revenue. So I recommend to my sole props for the startup is become a quarterly filer, because it keeps you on track with your reporting, your income and expenses. You don't want to be annual, because first of all, when you start collecting HST, it's not your money. Remember that it is not your money. You're being employed by the government of Canada to keep this money in trust. I ran into a little issue on the weekend with my partner, and I said that, she's an annual filer, and I said, you owe $17,000 in HST, and she said, she didn't like that. She didn't appreciate it. I said, it's not your money. You collected that on behalf of your clients. It's not your money. You have to remit it. And I wasn't very popular for the weekend. So remember, I have clients who put their HST in a separate bank account, so they don't spend it, they don't touch it. So you invoice with HST, and then when you pay bills, you pay HST, and then you remit the difference. So, and that's going to talk about that. What else, Trish?
So
yeah.
I think it's a great topic. So here's the question though, right? So everyone here for the most part is just starting out. They haven't hit that $30,000 mark.
Yeah.
And they may not actually hit that $30,000 mark this year. So is it good practice? And now I've always done it where I've started with HST basically from the beginning. And so is it good practice to just start off the bat with HST and claim and submit right from the get-go? I mean, there's obviously benefits to doing that, right? If you charge HST, you can claim HST, right? So there's
two reasons I recommend that people register as soon as they can. One, the first, it's appearance. If you are selling your services and you are not collecting HST, everybody knows you are a small supplier, you're a small vendor, you're not a big person. So they say, oh, you don't even have $30,000 in sales, so why should I deal with you? So that's the first thing, it's appearance. The second thing is, if you think about it, if you register for HST, all of a sudden, all the HST that you have paid on your purchases, let's say a $5,000 camera body, that is, all of a sudden that HST is refundable to you. So I really recommend to people who are especially starting out, because that's when your purchases are going to happen. Your large purchases are going to happen when you first start out. So now you register, that HST is refundable. So you're actually going to probably have in the first few months of your business, you're going to have a HST refund.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really super important to understand that. I get asked that question a lot. Is when do I start? Well, start at the beginning. And I feel like it's not that whether it's the right thing or not the right thing. You have to do what you decide for your own business. But I always felt that if I charge $100 for a service now, and then okay, 6 months in, I hit $30,000, and that same client comes to me in 8 months, and now I'm charging $113 to make it. They're gonna be like, "Why are you charging me tax now?" And I don't want to have to explain. Yeah.
The service is the same. So start off charging HST.
Yeah, and I kind of, if my clients question me or can I pay cash, and I'm like, look, the tax man doesn't take cash, but he'll take credit. Like, let's go, because if I got to pay him, so do you. And that's kind of where that goes. And nobody likes paying the tax, but it's expected when you're providing a service here. I think it's also a professional way to go about business personally.
What I tell my clients is, I don't like paying tax either, but I like the lifestyle it's given me.
Right.
We live in a safe environment here.
Yeah.
So, and that's only funded through our tax programs.
That's it. Awesome. Okay, so if you have a question for Rob, what I'd like you guys to do is just write them down for right now, because I want to go through the presentations, and then this way we can just do a nice big question period. So we're gonna shift over now to Annette. Annette, you can back clean up with Rob here, and touch base on some of the things there to help everyone stay organized and what they need to do and stuff.
Yes, and I want to apologize for rambling on so much, because I thought we were doing our section, not just an intro. So I basically said everything that I was going to say, but I do agree with Rob. When I registered and became self-employed, I registered for HST day one because I had to go out and buy a filing cabinet, a laptop, a desk, paper supplies, toner, and you're spending so much money getting set up, even just your office. But with you guys, you're buying camera equipment, you're buying lighting, it's going to add up to quite a bit. And it's nice to get a nice big refund from HST when you're not even really generating that much income yet, but you've got all those expenses. So you might as well get 13% of that back as soon as you can, right? So I think that was pretty much. Oh yeah, you wanted me to get back to buckets.
Yeah, I like
Okay,
that.
let's talk about buckets. Yes. So what a lot of people aren't aware of is that you mentioned travel and traveling meals, and that's more on Rob's thing, but I'll just touch on it. Meals are not 100% deductible. There's only certain conditions where meals are 100% deductible. So if you have a big office staff and you're bringing lunch in for all the staff and it's Christmas time, yeah, okay. But even if you're traveling, when you're buying meals and if say you've got a shoot and you're like 3 hour drive and you're picking up lunch along the way, that is still only 50% deductible. And CRA's perspective on that is because you are personally receiving the benefit of getting food in your stomach. So it is not 100% business. You are getting benefit of that. So you got to be aware of that as you're moving on, that when it comes to tax time, that there is some adjustments, right? But it is a good idea to keep meals in one bucket because your accountant does need to add 50% of it back. So if you keep that bucket separate, that's very helpful for your accountant. Travel, like hotels, flights, that kind of thing, that can go into another bucket. Your office supplies, one bucket. So office supplies would be your toner, your pens, your paper, anything that's usable. When you get into things like advertising and promotion, that's one bucket. Okay. And what goes in there is like, think about any money you're spending to promote your business, okay, to try and grow your business. That's advertising and promotion. That goes in one bucket. And then what else? Oh, and then another bucket is when you're buying, we call it capital assets. So anything you're purchasing that is a larger dollar amount, but has a useful life of more than a year. So I'm not talking about a calculator that you bought for $10 at the dollar store that lasts more than a year, because that's going to last maybe over a year. But we're talking about if you pay $800 for a filing cabinet, and that's how expensive they are, those 4 drawer filing cabinets. So that's an asset, okay? So that goes in its own bucket. If you are buying furniture, a computer, those go in their own little bucket. So it's very, very useful for your accountant to keep the separate buckets. The reason being is because for tax purposes, they get handled differently. A computer does not depreciate at the same rate as a filing cabinet does. So instead of sticking everything in one bucket called assets, it's good to have a computer bucket and a filing cabinet bucket, and kind of keep things separate. And then that way it saves your accountant a lot of time, which as a result, you hope will keep the bill to a reasonable amount as well. So does that help with the buckets?
I think so. And I think that everyone should understand too that these buckets are literally so you cannot be a responsible business owner without understanding where your money is going and how you're spending it. If you make $100,000 in a year and at the end of the year you don't have any money left and you're not really sure where the hell all that money went, it's because you're not tracking. And anyone who has money aversion, I have some serious, and Annette and I have had this conversation multiple times. I have some serious financial aversions. I love seeing the bank account full. But I'm also a shopaholic. So, I mean, I love going and finding new outfits for the client closet. I love shopping for myself because I know I can eventually just throw it in the client closet, which means I can write it off at some point in time or use it to my advantage. Backdrops, as I was saying. And so, but there's only so many things that I can purchase. How many outfits am I going to purchase? And understanding that when we talked about budgeting before, it's talking about budgeting and then setting aside, because at the end of the year, if I say I've made $100,000 this year and I spent $25,000 on clothes, but it doesn't compute to spend $25,000 on clothes when I'm doing $100,000 in sales. So understanding and putting those things separately, and no, I did not spend $25,000 on clothes last year, just so you all know.
Just
Maybe like
backdrops.
just backdrops, just backdrops, which is possible, by the way. And so when you start separating, and this is one of the reasons that I'm so particular about wanting those buckets separated, is so that I really truly understand what my bottom line is, and where my money is being spent. Because when you understand where it's going, you will be far more fiscally responsible with your money. When you go, wait a minute, I mean, I could have put that extra $10,000 into advertising. And I'm not sure. I think there's a rule of thumb. I don't know who mentioned, maybe it was you, Greg, that had mentioned it to me. I think it's like 20% of, I can't remember how it was phrased. 20% goes to advertising and marketing. You know, so if you're spending, is that what it was? I can't remember, Greg. I
It
feel
varies
like,
by industry. And it
yeah,
depends. The average stats are somewhere between 10 to 18% of gross revenue is spent on marketing.
right. So if
Yeah,
you're spending,
it's
80% of
industry
that,
specific.
yeah, and about 60% of that is spent on digital. now.
sorry, Rob?
It's industry specific. I don't spend near like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
spend percent of my gross revenue on advertising.
But that's the average. Keep that in mind too, right?
That's
There's companies that are growing like mad and stealing market share. They're spending a lot more.
Yeah. So it really is. So if I'm spending $25,000 on dresses and clothes and stuff, and that's like a quarter of my budget, why is that not going into marketing? Because that's what's really going to promote my business and make more money ultimately for me. So it's having those buckets and being super organized right from the beginning is super, super important. Again, write those questions down for Annette, because I know you guys, there's going to be a lot of information today. So I want you guys to take it in, write it down, and then be able to ask those questions. So let's move on. Thank you very much, Annette. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Greg first this time as we move forward, because you know, once you have all your buckets in place, and yeah, we'll talk about branding too, which Nick is gonna go into, but understanding, you know, how to get out there and use that digital space that we have. Most of us start, Greg, with no budget whatsoever, right? New businesses, there's minimal or no budget. And one of the things that I've asked my students to do is take advantage of the social media aspect. Your website, you know, is definitely a big component to that. We should be sending people from our social media to our website. That's where the magic happens. So I'm going to let you speak to that, because you are the expert. I am just a photographer.
So I built a deck. Was I getting a little
Yeah, no, go for it. Here, let me do a share.
corporate world kicking in?
Yeah, no, you do it. Go for it. I am so excited that you have a presentation. Nick did a presentation last time too. I think these guys are just old schools. They've been here, they've been in the panel before, so they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna, you know.
Greg, I will whip something together in the next 6 seconds on ChatGPT, and we'll see whose deck is better. Okay.
Oh, you
leverage the AI.
I will mid-journey the shit out of this today. I swear to God, I will. And we'll put all these photographers out of business when I can just like make oh, that's not the theme of today, Trish.
That's not the
Talking
theme.
about AI is going to replace us all.
Just
of course it is.
Just so you know, AI will never replace a photographer, because it has to get the information from us first to be able to learn how to create the things that it creates. So you'll never replace us. We're irreplaceable.
Yeah, take that, Nick.
We can definitely.
You can try.
A bit about AI as well, but everyone see my screen okay? See the big picture of me. So I'll add a little bit more context on who I was, because I didn't really elaborate, but I spent, you know, the first 7-8 years self-employed as a manufacturer's rep agent before I got dragged into a 2-decade term with Black & Decker, then Stanley Black & Decker, held a variety of different sales and marketing roles. I ran the marketing team in Canada. Ran several of the strategic business units for Canada. I weaseled my way into the Global Digital Steering Committee, which oversaw all 3 divisions of Stanley and the digital transformation of the organization. So a little bit of background in there. I am not a tech whiz by any stretch of the imagination. My background is mainly around strategy. So what I really like to do is I like to spend time helping business owners try and figure out how to outperform their neighbor's ridiculous cat video online and coming up with a good strategy. So the online thing, why bother, right? I mean, this whole internet thing, it's just a long-winded hoax. It's just going to disappear at some point in time, right? I mean, why even bother consider it? You know, at the end of 23, there was north of 1 billion websites on the World Wide Web, and that's on the 20% of the web that's the legal side. We're not talking about the dark web. We're just talking about the legal side. Of that, 200 million of them are active. So businesses that embrace an online presence typically report anywhere from 15 to 50% increase in their annual revenue. And the projection on users for the web is going to increase by about 1 billion by 2029, so in the next 5 years. And that's going to put it up over 7 billion. So basically, almost every human is going to be accessing the web that has the cognitive capabilities to do so. So that brings in a website. I mean, Nick's interlude was perfect because he hit the nail on the head. I mean, the single most important aspect, regardless of whether you're just starting or you're 10 years in, you need a website. So a lot of people think, well, I'll just do a Facebook page. I'll just run off Facebook. You know, that works. You don't own that space. That's not your, you are operating inside of a platform that you don't have control over. There's things you're allowed to do, things you're not allowed to do, and the property can disappear on you. A website, when you have it built and it's built properly, that's your digital business card, right? That's your face to the World Wide Web, right? You want to draw traffic to your website, which is the exact opposite of what all of the social platforms want you to do. They want people to stay in the platform. That's how they generate revenue, by keeping people in the platform. Now, we could go way down rabbit holes about how to leverage that type of activity to generate business for you. I'm going to try and keep it as high level as possible. Nick also hit the nail on the head. I should have had Nick do this. It would have been perfect. First impressions, you know, you guys are a creative entity, as Trish mentioned. Your work, wow factor, right? You make it pop on your website. That's exactly what it should do, is hit that first impression so that you're working in that Mercedes, Porsche level, as opposed to, you know, the down lower cost cars, right? You present that through your web property, which ties into branding, which, you know, Nick's going to talk about. But I mean, this is your space. It's your creative piece. It's your storytelling page. It's your ability to showcase who you are as not just a business person, but a photographer, what you do. It is the center point to everything that you do digitally. So you outlink to a variety of different aspects throughout the World Wide Web. Social. Who are you catering to? That's the social properties you want to play in. Where are they? You don't just, it's not a show up, throw up kind of event. You want to be specific and focus on where you're going to invest your time and resources and drive that back to your website. You know, Nick mentioned SEO. There's SEO is a big rabbit hole. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there, but it's basically, how do you get indexed by, we'll call space spade, Google. Google does all the indexing. All the other search engines use Google's indexing in order to rank sites. And keep in mind, you know, Google wants to show someone that's looking for something the best possible option. The SEO aspect of that is trying to figure out how to play with the rules that Google changes every other week on how to do web and other stuff, how to maximize your presence in front of that. That's a tech thing. You get a technical expert to help you with SEO. A website, when you're starting out, you can utilize a platform like Wix and make a great little website. Wix has added in some SEO activity, so they're improving their ability to do that. Fantastic. At some point in time, you're going to want to wash your hands of it, and you're going to want to go to someone that knows how to really make it pop and explode and really sort of drive that traffic to your site on your behalf once you're making some money. Analytics, I can't stress this enough. The beauty of digital is being able to measure everything. You need an analytics package on the back end of a website. You want to know where they came from, how they got there, what they're looking at, what they're doing, and so forth. That ties into the other piece that Nick really hit the nail on the head on, the call to actions, right? Everywhere on the page, you want to have some call to actions in order to get in touch with you. We'll touch on that in a second. The website's about building customer relationships, right? Content. You need some content. You just can't have a website loaded with pictures. Unfortunately, Google requires some content, typically 300 to 500 words. It needs to be well written. It needs to contain keywords that are relevant to your space and what you do. And that's how Google will go about indexing your site to show it when someone does a search. You can integrate direct sales, bookings, direct marketing. I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard of cookies, which maybe is going away this year. They keep saying it's going away this year, but that's how advertising's done using cookies and third-party data. You want to have a vehicle through your website that you can collect direct information, whether that's popping in a newsletter, whatever it happens to be, that you gather people's information so you can build your own direct sales list. The big thing with the website is, how do you make your customers smile? Talk about how you solve their problems. That's going to help you, build your business, so to speak, your why. Google Simon Sinek, he does a great intro on your why, right? You talk about why you do what you do. You want to relay that through your web property. So which kicks in a very simple thought process. If you're trying to market to everybody, you're marketing to no one. So you need to understand who your ideal client is, and everything you do is based to drive towards that ideal client. It's a little bit outside of a web thing, but I thought I'd throw it in there anyway. We touched on this briefly, but tools and platforms, again, you can have someone build a site. You can tackle some of the options that are available through something like Squarespace, Wix. My preference would be towards Wix. CRM integration. Again, with a website, everything is going to drive out to, how do you keep track of your clients? How do you talk to them? How are you going to reach out to them down the road? Again, the analytics. The call to actions, then we could jump into a website, but I'm sure you've all seen it. Talk to me, call me, book me, whatever it is. Little buttons that are showing up throughout the website. It's always there. As we progress, as a species, for some reason, we're going to get lazier and lazier. No one wants to go look for anything. You want those types of functionality right there. That's what ties into a highly converting website, that make it easy for someone to reach out to you, which is ultimately what I want to do. Pick up the phone, shoot you an email, whatever it happens to be. One thing I will throw in on platform and such, maintenance. It's key to maintain your website. They do break down, things go wrong, things go sideways. You want to have a good maintenance plan. So where are we going? There's been chatter about AI. There's definitely going to be an impact there. Google, even though it's in the race for AI, is finding ways to hunt out websites that are strictly using large language models to create content. And there's always bad actors that are trying to just pump out junk and try and work the back end of the algorithm that ranks sites. So they're working hard, which is kind of tongue in cheek, to try and flush those out. But you can use AI in a whole bunch of different ways, right? It's like having a grad assistant in your pocket, help with creativity, help with business planning. If you're struggling to get your business plan going, drop into ChatGPT and say, help me plan my business, and feed it some information. Be amazed at what you can end up doing with it. The big thing that the future is going to unfold, you got to keep in mind too, is how do you adapt to changing consumer behavior, and how does that reflect in your website? And really wrap it up, and I could have started with this slide and saved a bunch of people having to listen to me yammer on, but you need one. You need a website. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need a website. With that, I'll end on, you want to embrace digital, but stay human. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Oh my God, I love that last, like, embrace digital, stay human. I love that. I think that it's so real, especially for what we do. When we're photographing people, especially, it's very humanizing for some, but we deliver on a digital platform. And so that's pretty awesome.
You're going to find as AI bounces along, copywriters are going to be in more high demand, photographers, artists. That group has the ability to articulate and can leverage these systems to augment their own abilities. I can't see, I hope not, a future where there aren't creative people. I sat at a conference listening to the head of DeepMind at Google. She was talking about, she heads up the whole thing. She distilled it down to these things are going to do the thunking and we're going to do the thinking. So the creative aspect of it, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to help make for better outputs.
One of my mentors just recently released a workshop, a learning workshop to include AI. We know it's happening. So instead of going against the grain and saying, look, it's not the same, it's not the same, incorporate it into your business, into your photography workflow, and make it a part, because it's never going to be the full thing of what you do, but learning to advance it and learning how to use it properly will help you ultimately in your business. And I actually know some photographers who have created in Midjourney. I still can't figure out how to do it for the life of me. I'm like a slow learner, clearly. But she has created some insane digital backdrops just using Midjourney. And she is marketing the crap out of those products. And people are just buying, like, hey, buy this for like $59.95. And it's like, you get 8 to 10 of these things that maybe took her an hour to do. And now she's just monetizing on them. And it's all done through it's one of those, it's on my to-do list to learn how to structure this AI stuff to my benefit. But I do use ChatGPT all the time. So Greg introduced me, he's the culprit here. He actually introduced me to ChatGPT. I was the director consultant for his chapter. And he was presenting, and I was like, tell me more, I must know. And part of it is because I can't always articulate what I would like to say in a professional way. Like I have 2-syllable words, that's about it. Anything after 2 syllables, it's questionable on what I know. And sometimes putting the thought process down so that it makes sense using ChatGPT I've done, and I've actually shown the students using it. You want to create a marketing plan, tell it exactly what you want to do with it. And you see how it just creates. And I'm just in awe every single time. And it actually will speed up your process. So the idea is when you are incorporating AI, use it to speed up your process, not to be the full process.
Yeah, the human in the loop is critical, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just because it comes out of these LLMs doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
They do make mistakes. I'll give you one just to get outside of using it for even the creative aspect of it. Say you've got 100 Google reviews on your website because you've done a bang up job. You can dump all those reviews into an LLM and say, analyze this for me, look for commonalities, look for areas of weakness, areas that I can improve, areas that I'm strong, and it will spit out a whole little matrix for you to say, here you go. So as there is a bazillion different ways to leverage these things. We're supposed to be talking about website, but
Everybody in this room needs to go onto my Google and do a review, because I seriously want to do that and see what it comes up with. We've had these conversations and I love this stuff. I think it's awesome.
But if you pay for the next level of ChatGPT, one of the things you're going to want to do when you get out is do a competitive landscape to understand photographers in your area. What are they doing? And if they've got pricing on their website, as Nick said, put your price on your website, you can use these tools to go analyze websites and pull back information on what your competitors are doing, which just allows you to set your stage into your own marketplace. I mean, you should know your competitors regardless of what you do, as well or better
What
than
they can do tonight is use ChatGPT and explain to it, I live in Barrie, Ontario, or I live in Orillia, Ontario. Find me 10 websites, 10 photography websites in and around me right now, and do a comparison of all the pricing. Find me the pricing, and then you can ask it again, what would be the average price of this type of work that I want to be doing? And it will spit it out for you. And it's not always correct, AI is a snapshot of who we are as humans. So the more of our collective consciousness that we put on the internet, the more it can take from that. And so it'll just do the combing for you. You don't have to Google it. It'll do the combing for you. And it'll come up with 5 or 10 or 15, whatever you want. And that's one of the ways you can weaponize it. You can also, like Trish said, ask it to start spitting out pages of her business plan too.
It's an assistant in your pocket.
Did
Yeah,
everybody like my presentation that Greg made for me? Did everybody enjoy that?
it was fabulous. I loved it.
Greg and I
Awesome.
have been talking in the chat this whole time. Like, I'm sorry. And he goes, no, we got to do a one-to-one together now.
That's awesome. See, look at that. And just so you know, before tonight, I don't think you guys have ever actually met, right? So
Yeah, we did actually. We were on a BNI meet. There was 3 of us that were digital marketers showed up, but
Somewhere
one
else,
of the
yeah.
staff was visiting a while ago. It was kind of
collaboration over
Trish,
competition.
if you don't mind, I could just speak about branding like I was supposed to because I got to jump off soon.
Yeah,
But
please.
I think I did this incorrectly a year ago when we did this the first time. And I spoke so highly about building a brand and making sure you have this and that. I think it's very easy, and I did it too as a designer, how easy it is to get caught up in what the logo looks like and what the colors look like and the typography and all that crap. That's really, really, nobody really cares about that stuff. You care about that stuff, but your clients don't. And all they need to see is that it's a clean looking logo and that the website's clean looking. They want to see the work. Trust me, they don't care about what font you use, that you used Arial or you use Poppins or something else. No one cares as long as it's a Google friendly font and it'll render on all the web browsers. They just need to see your work. I assure you, your quality of work is your branding. For a photographer, something that's visual. Same thing with videographers. Do you think I care whether they have a banging, $5,000 logo? I don't care what their identity system looks like. I am looking for the videography. I am looking for their demo reel. I am looking for the quality of things that they do. That is your brand. I cannot stress that enough. Continue pumping energy into your craft. And then the other business pros that are in this chat today, continue pumping energy into your business development. How you're going to find leads, how you're going to create business. There are hardcore one-to-one networking events you can do, and then there's also digital things like running ads and things like that, which is a huge rabbit hole that never ends. But I would suggest, as a branding, expert, which you guys all are too, photographers are branding experts too, your work is your brand. I cannot stress that enough. Make sure it's beautiful, it's well presented. You don't have, I've seen it even in modern websites today, where some things are in subcategories and I can't find everything. Just make sure that it's clear. If you have more than one category of things that you do, I want them in the nav. Weddings and portraits, animals and people, a boudoir, whatever it is that you're going to do, make sure it's categorized so I know what I'm looking for. And as Greg said, the content, what he's referring to is the text, the words on your webpage, like the copy. Right? Because Google doesn't know the images. It doesn't know how to comb images unless those images, and this is where we're getting crazy, unless those images have words behind them called metadata and meta descriptions and stuff like that. What it's looking for is to comb your website with copy. So on the first page on your homepage, if you say something like professional and family portraits in Aurelia or in Barrie or wherever, I'm in Aurelia, I'm close to Aurelia, that's why I keep referencing that. That's what Google's looking for. So the next time someone's Googling for this stuff, you show up, right? But I cannot stress this enough. Your brand is your work. As a photographer, your brand is your work. So just keep showing that. Show that, present it in a very clean, crisp way. It can be a grid. There's a couple of websites that photographers love. Squarespace is one. If you're going to use Wix or Squarespace, it's 6 in one, half dozen in another. It's the same thing. I prefer, as my cheap and cheerful solution to some of my clients, I prefer Squarespace. I have tried to use Wix. It is a nightmare for me. I don't like it. There's also another one called Showit. Showit is a big one, big favorite of photographers as well. Right. You like Wix or you like Showit?
Showit. I use Showit. It has very much a WordPress style,
Yeah.
but with a very Wix or business builder sort of kind of drop and click. So it's made for simple tech people like myself, not a web designer. And it is very, very intricate once you learn. It takes a bit. There's definitely a learning curve. But we were talking about going into, I think I was talking about it with you guys, about going into each individual image and entering in the alt text and the meta text and making sure that because Google does not read the images.
Correct.
And we were talking about the SEO and keywords and where to find them. And
A thing that would be if you have the money, guys, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on it, but if you can find a copywriter on Upwork or something like that and say, look, this is the budget I have. I would love for someone to help me write my homepage. And then that copywriter will spend, half an hour with you. Okay, what is it? What are the things you're looking for? I have 2 copywriters that work with McGrawson, but they charge me like $3,000 to write, a 10-page website. They're pretty slick pros. I understand you probably don't have that budget, but if you can muster up a couple $100, a copywriter's job is to think this stuff through for you. So what is it that you want to be known for? Okay, this type of photography. And then they're going to wordsmith and weaponize the words on the page. And that's going to help you with your branding as well. They're going to ask you, what do you like to shoot? Who do you like to shoot? What is that? Okay, so they're understanding your brand now. Okay, this is the type of brand you are. Okay, and if we're speaking to this type of audience, if we're speaking to just women in this age category, that's going to have to sound very different from gearheads who want shots of their garage and muscle cars and stuff. That's going to feel a little different, right? So that's part of branding too. The words, the quality of the words and the wording is part of your branding too. Spend some time thinking about that. What do you want to be known for right now? What do you want to shoot right now? That may change in a decade. You might grow and evolve, and maybe what you're shooting now won't be what you shoot, 5-10 years from now. But what do you want to be known for right now? Is there a market for that too? Is there a market that will eat that up, right? So you can't just be doing, macro photography forever. That's not a viable thing. Like, people don't want, microscopic, shots of spiders and insects. As beautiful as that is, that may not pay you, right? So you want to be known for things that are going to be marketable, things that are going to put money in your bank, and then start to get some of that business. And you can do that with the help of a copywriter. Go on Upwork, find someone, come up with a budget that you think is good. Maybe they can write out a homepage and a couple services pages for you. That might be very, very helpful for you. But all the wording and the messaging, that's part of branding too. So I'll leave you with that. Your work is your brand. I would expect to see from every one of you a crisp, clean, white website with outstanding work. And let me see the quality of your work. You can worry about sweeping forms and cool rollovers and colors and effects later. You can worry about that stuff later. Get hired for the quality of your work first. And then part of not just the visual part, not just the photos, but the messaging too, the wording too, is part of your branding as well. And then if you're feeling really advantageous, you can again go on Upwork, get a quick logo made, or if you can design one yourself, great. I would not get hung up on the typography and the font choices, and it just needs to be clear, guys. It sounds the antithesis coming from a branding guy, but I really don't think if you're starting out, those are the things you want to get hung up on. I think that's pretty good advice. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you to invest in stuff like that. What you need is more business development and more, echoing what Greg said, weaponizing your hub and weaponizing that.
I think you're right there. So we do a part of developing your brand. That's part of the course. And I actually have them go into Canva to create their logos. Thanks, Nick, for coming. I know you got to jump off. I really appreciate that you're here.
Thank you for having me, guys. And I hope I didn't ruin everybody's time. And anyone can reach out if they have more questions. Greg, I'll reach out to you later. Okay, buddy?
Hey, before you jump off, I'll add one thing in that you guys can consider. Google Business Property. That's a cheap and cheerful way to get for local. Google favors local people over non-local people. So there's no cost. You can do that for free. You can put your work on there as well and tie it back to your website when you build your website. So you can do a Google Business Property right now.
Is there a link there to access that, Greg?
Yeah. I could send one over in the chat, take one up, but yeah, it's a Google Business Property or Google, what used to be called Google My Business.
Okay, great. And so I have Google My Business. I believe so. So yeah, we did talk about branding for everyone in the room. And we really dove into the why. That is, it's super important to understand exactly why you're doing this. What's the reason that you're doing it? When people notice me and I've walked into a dollar store here in Barrie during COVID and I had my mask on that said Trish Beasley Photography, and standing in line, somebody's like, "Are you Trish?" or "Trish, like, do you work for Trish?" Or I was like, "Wow, somebody actually thinks I have employees. That's awesome." Or "Are you Trish?" And I was like, no, I'm Trish. She's like, oh my God, I've heard all about you. And I've only been here for less than a year. So either am I famous, infamous, like what's going on? And it was because of my brand and how I represent myself, my business, and everything that I do. I show up every day. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with my logo. It has to do with the messaging that I send with all my images that I do and the level of service that I present at. So the brand has a lot to do, again, visually, not just your logo, but definitely your images and definitely your persona. And I have told everyone, like, if you don't feel like talking to somebody today, because you are the face of your brand as an individual owner of your business, there are days where I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just grumpy and I just want to be left alone. And I want to wear a pair of sweatpants and a baseball cap. And those are the days that I don't talk to anybody, because if people see me not in my brand as who I am, and I'm miserable to them, that sends off a completely different message. So branding is super important because people will always buy the person before they will buy the product, right? People have to like you before they're going to buy your product. Know, like, and trust. This is one of the things that we kind of live by in our BNI world. You refer people who you know, like, and trust. And so that woman at the dollar store, who it actually happened to be Laura Brailsford, who is in another BNI chapter, but she wasn't then. She was a dance mom that was referred by a dance mom that I knew. And so it small worlds really do happen, and people will get to know you through other people. So it's super important to make sure that the brand that you create for yourself is consistent with what you're delivering and how you're showing up every day for your business. Okay, so what we're gonna do, actually, because Jessica, I really want you to round this up with networking last. And the reason for that is because all of these things are about getting everyone together and getting their mindset to that business. But you cannot do business unless you are connecting with people. And in our world, part of that is literally, because what we do is so personal, we have to connect one-on-one with people. It's not always going to be a digital introduction on Facebook where someone says, hey, I need a photographer. And you go, okay, I'm it. And they go, sure, you're it. Let's do it. They want to talk to you. They want to network with you. They want to know who you are first. But before, so I want you to kind of round it up at the end. But I want to go over to David, because I love that David can really help people hone in on what they are looking to accomplish. And you have a fantastic program as well that I've sat in on when you had that coaching session. I thought it was awesome. So I would love for you to kind of dive in and share.
Well, certainly, there's a lot of areas of business I could talk about, but just sort of the common theme here, and just that you're in the business planning stage. To me, there are 7 principles, but I'm only for business success that I've figured out over my 30 years in business. But the main one is the first principle. It is where are you now and where do you want to go? And this is super important for a lot of reasons. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. I like that expression because it's like, if I was there, I was a business owner, I was graphic design, I started my business going, oh, I'm kind of good at what I'm doing. I said, okay, so I worked for someone for a few years, and then I started my own business, and I brought on some new clients, and then my business grew, and I thought I was successful, but I didn't know where I was going. I had a kind of a slight vision in my mind where I want to go, but nothing was written down. There was no plan. There was no nothing, right? So I was in that. I didn't know where I was going. So any road was going to get me there. I would just, depending on what I was, what was happening, I would make that decision. Oh, that sounds like a good thing, so I'm going to do that. But one of the main things about what I want to stress there, and it's a very overlooked first foundation, is to know where you want to go with your business, or what do you want from your business. Is this just going to be a side hustle for you, and all you want to do is make a little bit of extra money on the side? Or do you want this to be a $250,000 photography business? Do you want to be a $1 million photography business? What is it that you are looking for in a business? Because if you don't know what that is, you're never going to get there. But you need to start with the end in mind. What do you want that business to look like? What do you want to earn? Where are you living? What type of car are you driving? These are the things that you need to think about for a number of different reasons. Once you know what that is, then you can reverse engineer the milestones that will help you get to where you want to go. And there's a couple other huge factors in this, and one is motivation. All of you out there, if you're going to start a business, in the beginning, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. But there are going to be times where you're going to hit walls, you're going to trip over things, you're going to lose money, you're going to go weeks, maybe months without a client, and you're going to be asking yourself, what am I doing? How can I get through this? But if you know where you want to go, and you've got that planned, then you know, well, if I don't have a client this week, what activities do I need to take to make sure I do have a client, right? And then the other part of it is it helps you with decisions. Will this decision get me closer to that end goal? If it doesn't, then you just say no, and it's easier to make those decisions. And the closer you get to that end goal, the more often you're going to have to say no, because you're going to be more laser focused on getting to where you're going to go. And then the third, a very important thing is once you've got it written down and you've got that map, you've got something, you've got a vision that you can share with people, whether it's your spouse or whether it's a business partner or whether it's employees that you bring on. If you don't have that vision of where you want to go, how do you get other people to buy in? Yeah, you could sit there over a beer or a coffee and go, yeah, you know what? I really want this to be a $500,000 business, but I don't really know how I'm going to get there. You go, oh, no, you know what? This is going to be a $500,000 business. I'm going to be shooting cats only, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Not only, like I love Trisha's business model where she's got, it's a whole experience for someone. Even if they're not 100% happy with their end product, that experience that they had is well worth it, and the value is there. The same thing, if you want to do only pets, you just make this an amazing experience on what you're going to do for the pet and the pet owner and all the things that go around it. But if you don't know, again, what it is, the passion that you want to work towards, you don't know how to create that product that has the value that then you can translate to everything else that Greg and Nick was saying about, what does the website look like? If you don't know where you're going, then you're just going to throw pictures on the website with a white background, throw some copy and throw some prices on there and hope that people are going to buy from you. If you do that, then you're like 90% of the other photographers out there. And that's not going to help you. You need to know what you want to do, where you want to take it, so you build your business around that. So there's a lot more that goes into it, but that is ultimately where I want to just sit there, know where you want to go, reverse engineer. It helps you with decisions. It helps you with vision, helps you with people buying in. And it helps you stay motivated during those tougher times in the beginning. And believe me, I've been in business for a long time. Year 15, there can be issues, there can be problems, there can be struggles. Like we all went through COVID. You could be in business for 15 years and COVID hit you. Oh, if you don't have the vision, you don't know where you want to go, it's hard to get through that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, David. That was awesome. And I know there are more steps because we've had this conversation, and it's so important to know where you are going with your business. And we've talked about this as well. So I just want my students to understand that I'm not just blowing smoke. So when I am teaching you, and just so everyone knows in here, all of my BNI friends, when I start this class off every semester, and it doesn't matter if I'm teaching for Sheridan or Georgian, I always start with, I'm going to teach you what not to do because I did everything wrong when I started. I did not have amazing people like the ones that are in this room here to guide me. I had photography mentors, but like me, they were photographers and not business owners. And you cannot be the person who knows everything. I mean, I know a lot about everything. I don't know, but I'm not an expert about everything. And you cannot be working in your business if you want to work on your business. So at the beginning, you're going to work in and on your business. There's going to be a 50-50 there because you're going to have time. But at some point, it's going to transition and shift when you decide that you're ready to do that. And when that time happens, you have to decide whether it's time to work on your business or in your business, and how is that going to work for you, and how do you want to see. And people like David and Jessica and Rob and Annette and Greg, like these are the people that help a business owner literally go from, okay, I have a vision, I know what I want to do, I don't know how to get there. And so I depend on the network that's around me to be able to help me get to that next level. And we've talked about this with the Photographer's House and growing it and becoming a resource for Canadian photographers. And that is a massive endeavor. Like, that's not a little thing, that's a huge thing to look at. But I have my ultimate goal. And so the idea is to break it down into pieces, like David was saying, and then create deconstruct it and create and move forward. So every step forward, even if it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, right, David, it's still a step forward in the right direction, and maintaining that flow. But it comes down to dedication, motivation. And then if you have that plan, you can be hyper focused and vigilant on that. So yeah, so I'm okay. I'm really excited, you guys, because Jessica's up next, and then we're going to go into our question period. And Jessica, I like to call her the queen of networking, but I guess she's just the queen of all of us who are I said it. Shh, Trish. Jessica brings a wealth of experience and knowledge as the director for the OCN, and I'm, for one, grateful that she is here to share, not just here, but in the OCN. And I'm not just kissing her ass, you guys. I actually really, truly like her. And we happened to meet at Williams today after I had a meeting, and we were just sitting there chit-chatting, and it's nice to have someone to bump by. And we were just chatting, just so you all know, everybody in the OCN. I was like, oh, we need to do an OCN conference. Like, let's do it. See, I have to share. I'm too excited. And just acknowledging that our members are so amazing and so smart and so professional, and just want to see everyone succeed.
Yeah.
Right? It's super important. So, but Jessica, do you have your presentation up, or did you want me to grab it?
I can pull it up.
Because I have the share screen on, or I can go into my email and grab it if you want. You decide.
1 second. Let me see where it is. Okay, I think I got it.
So Jessica's going to round us out, and then we're going to open it up to questions. So make sure you're writing those questions down as we go through. Awesome. It's not a best meeting, Jessica, just so you know.
I treat everything like the best meeting. Okay, so thank you for having me again. I'm really excited. I honestly could talk forever. So if you guys want to connect ever or after this, I am more than happy to. I'll put my email in the chat in a little bit. So this little presentation, I did not create it. I won't take credit for it, but it is called a Hot Potato, and it is called Growing Your Business. So everyone can see it, right? Okay,
I love it.
Perfect. So the hot potato, don't keep it to yourself. The young couple were happy and ready to marry, so they sought the services of a wedding planner. Being a BNI member, and all she could see was referrals, referrals, referrals everywhere. She first passed the potato to the bridal shop, who passed it to the fitness instructor so the groom could get into a suit, who passed it to the solicitor for the prenup. This is also American, by the way. Then she passed the potato to the jewelry designer and to many other BNI members. such as all these wonderful people that bring a wedding together. And they all helped create the happy day. But it did not stop there. The potato was still hot. So quickly it was passed to a real estate agent, who passed it to a financial planner, who passed it to a mortgage broker. And then it went to a supplier that was not a BNI member, and it stopped.
Ooh. I'm
No.
like, boo.
Okay, so then it stopped. Now, what that is to say, you don't have to be a BNI member in order to pass referrals. I'd like to make that very clear. But one thing that BNI members do know and are given the education on how to do is to pass referrals to their friends, their colleagues, their network. And if you don't have a network, you have no one to pass referrals to or to receive referrals from. So how do we create a network? So the first thing I'm going to do is ask you, if you have paper in front of you, I see a few of you writing, write 1 to 5 on a piece of paper, and you're going to think very quickly about all the people you talk to on a daily basis. Okay. So don't include your kids if you have them, or your dog. Well, sometimes if your dog's the only person you see, include your dog. But who are the people from your 9 to 5 daily life, the 5 people who you talk to the most, and write them down? And just take a moment and think about that. And now take a look at your 5 people. Who cannot think of 5 people? Who cannot complete the list? Okay, we got 1 hand up. We got 2 hands up. Okay, there's a 3 hands up. Okay, we got, oh, I see a 4th hand up. Okay, guys, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. You got to get out of your cave. You are living in a cave, okay? So this is a true indicator that your network is not large enough to support your business. So you need to fill that 5. This is also a great opportunity to take a look at that 5. I'm not telling you to get rid of anybody on your list. We all love the people that we talk to on a daily basis, but do you need to set some boundaries? Are they time wasters? Are they, taking your time away from being profitable in your business? Are they people who send you referrals? Are you sending them referrals? What kind of relationship? Assess the relationships that you have in your top 5 list. And really take a hard look. Sometimes it takes actually a couple days. This is not something that you're going to come to a realization right now, but take a couple days and sit with this and really think about your top 5 people. Now, how do we either increase to fit the full 5, to people to fit the full 5 list, or how are we going to build on that list and make those 5 people that you see on a regular basis help you become profitable and successful within your business? So one of the things is you have to focus on building relationships. So take the people that are closest to you and start there. Set up a meeting, allocate 30 to 60 minutes with these people, and ask them the hard questions. What is it that you really like about me? What are the top 3 words that stick out to you about me? How would you describe me? If there was one person in your network that you would introduce me to, who would it be? If they own a business, what kind of information or tidbit could they share with you that would be the most beneficial information that they could share? So ask them the hard questions and let them know, prepare them for this conversation, because you don't want to take anyone back by it, but give them the heads up that you are going to be asking some hard questions. You might need a bit of a reality check about your network. And if they say to you, I have the perfect person you need to meet, say yes. This is the way that you are going to increase your network. Say yes to all the introductions. It does not mean that every single introduction is going to be beneficial to your business, but you have absolutely no idea where your next client is coming from. Absolutely no idea. And it could be the most random encounter with somebody that you thought meant absolutely nothing that could be the most profitable client that you could have in your career. So never say no to an introduction. So a couple things that you could do to increase your network will be contact the 5 closest people to you first. Go on to Facebook, check out go into search and write business and your city and see what Facebook groups come up and start interacting with some of these people. Don't just spam people with the posts that you have, like, I'm trying to sell my photography business. Do something genuine. Say, I am starting my photography business and I'm looking to meet new people and expand my network. If you are in marketing or if you are in whatever industry that you decide that is the best industry for you, I would love to touch base. Please message me here. I would love to set up a Zoom or a coffee meeting with you. Or if there's something in person happening, go to Google, go to events.com. There's quite a few of these websites that you can go to that are for all of North America. So whatever city that you are in, Google city plus networking and see what comes up. And you may not know anyone at this networking event, but go get yourself out there and just be prepared to shake some hands. Now, what happens when you get there? How are you benefiting? How are you going to build these relationships? Don't just pass your business card. That means nothing. Absolutely nothing. Do not accept a business card if you are not going to be calling these people. You are not a business card collector. What I would do is when you were in that event, right then and there, you find someone that you connect with that you would like to further speak to outside of the event, make an appointment in your calendar right then and there. Do not wait. Let them know that this is important to you. Make them feel important, and they're going to be looking forward to that meeting that you are going to have with them. So do not collect business cards. Do not make that your profession. Make sure that you go up and you talk to people. You say, I would really like to get to know you. Make sure you listen. Ask questions and listen. This is how you are going to really make a beneficial relationship with somebody. And again, if there's going to be, when you go to a networking event, you're going to have flowers and you're going to have bees. Now, the flowers stay in one spot. They're planted, they're rooted. They are not going to be going around, buzzing around, introducing, putting out their hand and shaking people's hands. You also have the bees. Those are the ones that are going to be buzzing around the room, wanting to meet everybody. It's important that you know who you are and you notice who those other people are. So if you were a bee and you see somebody standing there, if they're at a networking event, that means that they want to meet people. So go up to them, introduce yourself. They may be shy, they may be an introvert, and they may be coming across as somebody who is not feeling very comfortable and doesn't want to be there, but they know for their business they have to be there. So go up to them, talk to them. They are waiting. Flowers are waiting for the bees. So make sure you go up there and talk to them. They want you to be there. They don't want to be standing alone. They want to increase your business. And I am telling you that those flowers are just as beneficial as the bees buzzing around the room. Now, let's talk about body language. This is a huge, huge thing. Whether you know or not, or whether you like it or not, first impressions are everything. So you need to make yourself aware, like this meeting right here is a first impression for me to you guys. And this is really crucial. You should take every opportunity that you have, whether it be a class meeting, a work meeting, or just a coffee with somebody. Really try to put your best foot forward, but make it genuine at the same time. So there's a book I really like. It's on Audible. If you're an Audible listener, it's called Cues. And it's 1 credit if you guys have credits. I really highly recommend listening to it. And it's a really long one, but it's super beneficial. I learned so much. And it's talking about something as simple as a head tilt or where you're putting your hand on your face. How are you engaging? Using your hands while you're talking on a Zoom meeting and making it more engaging and entertaining than, being flat stead, no tone in the voice or anything like that. Right. So how are you engaging with people? I highly recommend checking that out. There's also another book I really recommend. It is on Audible as well, and it's free, and it's called Network Like a Pro, and it's by Dr. Ivan Meisner, who started BNI. Again, I highly recommend it. It's not BNI based. It is really about networking like a pro and talking about all sorts of things, from referral marketing to social media marketing to body language and how important that is as well. So when you are talking to people, when you are at an event, do not cross your arms. This is closed off. You're telling people, go away. I do not want to talk to you. If you are standing and you're face to face to somebody, you are telling somebody else that do not come into this situation. We're having a private conversation. You are not welcome. If you would like somebody to come and talk to you, make sure you're standing with somebody else. Have like an open V, so your bodies are face out, and don't keep your hands in your pockets, because that's also a closed off motion. Do not keep your hands on your waist, because that's showing I'm better than you. But you have something in your hand. Grab a glass of wine if you're at a type of event like that, or a water bottle or a coffee cup. Have something in your hand to make you feel relaxed, because people don't want to just stand there straight. That's also kind of uncomfortable, right? So have a water bottle, have a coffee cup. It's also beneficial if you'd like to get out of a situation, a conversation that you no longer want to be a part of. Oh, I have to throw my coffee cup out. I'll be right back. And then you go talk to somebody else. So it's a way in and it's a way out. So just have something in your hand when you're going to talk to people. And then if you're also in a Zoom meeting, something to consider, what background, and this kind of goes with branding a little bit, as we've all kind of talked about, but you guys are photographers, so this is the best way to sell yourself and make a first impression. So let's say you are a nature photographer. This would be an amazing opportunity to have a picture of one of your most beautiful flower pictures behind you. Or if you are, you have very clear branding colors, put it behind you. You know, as you can see, I'm branded by the company that I work for, and it's selling something already. And it got Trish thinking about something completely else, and it was inspiring her. So you have to think about something so simple. And also something else to consider with Zoom is your lighting. You are photographers. You are supposed to be experts in lighting. So if you do not have your lighting figured out in your Zoom meeting, that's going to be an indicator that somebody is not, maybe you're not as an expert as they thought you were. So think about all these things that people might not actually be purposely thinking about in their heads, but it's unintentionally being thought about and being processed from these first impressions. So really take a look. So I want to challenge you guys for, I don't know if this is your last session or if you have one more session, but the next Zoom meeting that you have, take one of your pictures and figure out what looks best and put it behind make it as a background, and really perfect your lighting and see how it works. Another thing too is to make sure that you are present in the meeting. So all you people with your cameras off, and Greg will attest to this, I'm a stickler. You have to have your camera on when you're in all Zoom meetings. Even if you're just listening, you are making a first impression. I'm watching all of you right now, and I'm saying, Diane, Howie, you're nodding, you're engaging, you're listening to the conversation. I want to get to know you. That makes me want to have a coffee with you and really learn more about you and what you do in your business. Daniela, I'm watching you write down everything, and I can tell that you are an analytical person and you really take note and you really want to succeed and do well. So it's these tiny little things that you guys may not think are intentional or that no one else is picking up on, but people are picking up on these things. So I know I spoke a little bit longer, but if you have any questions, again, I'll put my email in the chat. I am more than happy to have a meeting with you guys on Zoom where you guys can show me your lovely pictures behind in your background, and I can share any more information that I can share. So thank you.
Oh my God, I love it. That was so good. Okay, so one of the first requests that I made when I start, not only that I'm going to teach them not what to do, but that I need to see their faces, because in order for me to teach and know that they're understanding the concept, that their cameras need to be on because we're on Zoom. When we're in a classroom, it's a completely different feeling. And as we know, just by being in person in our meetings and not, there is a different vibe and energy to being in person. And as an educator and someone who's at the front of the room, I need to see the expressions of what's happening on the camera so that I can identify whether or not I've got your attention, you're understanding the concept, or you're looking at me like I have 10 heads and you have no idea what I just said, because then I can reiterate and explain it in a different way. And I can use examples, when I see that your expression is different, knowing that, okay, you're not getting it. So how can I include you in the conversation so that we can use an example so that you will understand? Because I know most of us who are artists, we do by touch, feel, like it's all about the senses, right? And seeing and doing. And so by creating that, it's super important to me, everyone who is not on right now. Bad
No,
impression for me, you guys. Just saying.
It's really important, especially, you're right, for anyone who is speaking in front of people. If they see people kind of going like this and they're not paying attention, they need to shift gears. And if they can't see your face, then they don't know if they need to shift gears and change the way that they're speaking or what they're speaking about. So it's really important to see faces and interact with people.
Well, and so as I mentioned earlier, like I have a huge money aversion, anything financial. Like anytime somebody financial comes on and starts talking, Annette's laughing because she knows I've literally said to both Annette and Shelley and Rob, who are big financial, like I love these people. And I'm like, I have to become more fiscally responsible because I suck. And so I'll sit there and I'll be like, explain that again and explain it again and explain it again. And I've probably asked them like probably the same question 1,000 different times so that I can understand it. And I remember Shelley doing a presentation and I said, holy shit, I understand that. Like I totally understand what you just said there. And it was like the light bulb went on. But I know that they know by my expression when I'm zoomed out, like and I'm in the room with them when they're presenting. And if they see my eyes shift, they know they've lost me because I don't understand. And so, yes, please, everyone, put your emails in there so our students can contact you as well. So, and then I'm going to give them a big list of everyone as well. But that it's super important to be engaged, especially in a networking situation, because if people don't think you're interested in them and you're closed off to them, one of the things that, and I know I experienced this coming out as a new photographer, is imposter syndrome. And it can be very overwhelming when you walk into a room. And it happened for me even in our BNI when I first started. I walked into a room full of these amazing business people. I don't know how much money they're making, but I'm all thinking they're all making millions and millions of dollars. And here I am just walking in. Hi, my name is Trish and I'm a photographer. And it took a long time. First of all, it comes down to self-value, and valuing what you're worth, which is what Greg was mentioning to everyone, to value what you can do. And it was one of those things when I finally realized that I'm actually one of the most important people in the room, especially right now, because visuals speak so much right now to business worlds, to social media world. And what we do is create visuals. And so me specifically, because I create visuals for business owners, personal branding, headshots, I am getting your business known. I'm creating content for your website, for your social media. I am the most important person to you right now, because with what I do, I have enough skill to get you noticed. And there's value in that. So when you start seeing your value, you walk in, that imposter syndrome starts to go away a little bit by a little bit by a little bit. And I've been teaching for 12 years with Sheridan. So coming into BNI 2 years ago, I've been teaching for 10 years at that point. And I still walked in going, okay, just remember who you are. And there'll be times where I would quiver in, doing my pitch, because it was different, right? We're not used to getting out and in front of everyone and, you know, here I am, this is what I can do, and I'm awesome, please come talk to me. So kind of, I think that imposter syndrome and getting out of your head and being open to conversations. One of the things that I used to do, Jessica, and you're gonna laugh, I used to, and I've done it actually with a couple, I think I've done it with you, maybe, no, I know I've done it with Rob Hilton. I was just getting to know him, and he was doing a real estate event at the BDAR, and I offered to come in with my camera so that I could network. And it was with just his clientele, but what I do is that's like I guess my cane or whatever, my crutch. I can take a picture of you. Everybody wants their pictures taken at a networking meeting, and then that gives me the opportunity to reconnect with you later on. And at a network meeting that I was at, the organizer noticed that that's what I would do every single time I come for a meeting. She literally took my camera out of my hand and said, "You're not allowed to do this anymore. Go network." I was like, "That's $5,000 sitting in your hand. You dropped that, you bought it." And she's like, "Go network." And I have never brought a camera to a networking meeting ever since, unless it's something that I specifically, again, you get that nervous feeling. But when Kevin and Michael were here, first thing I probably felt to do was bring my camera. And then the next one was like, yeah, I got this. I'm good. But it takes time, and you have to, once you start building a relationship with one person in the room, it's so much easier to start building the relationship out. So even if you're focusing in on one person, that's the one person I want to connect with today. Now you have a friend, you have an ally. So the next time you go to that meeting and that friend and that ally is there, you can stand beside that person, because guess what? That person's going to introduce you to everybody else she knows or he knows, right? So that's kind of, it's networking is quite the monster, but
it's all the time though. It's even right now. Like, let's say Diane specializes in nature photography and Daniela is headshots. They are going to pass referrals to each other because now they've made a connection within this class and they don't do each other's jobs or specialties. So those are referrals being passed. So you have to think about the connections that you're making right here, right now in your class. It starts now. It's all the time. And it's not to say that you should be on all the time. You want to make sure that these are genuine connections, but you also need to be aware of your surroundings and where you're at. Who are these people that are going to be passing referrals? This is your very first start of people passing referrals. Even if you are doing the same thing, you both do headshots, but one of you is packed and you have no more room and this person needs to get it in ASAP. Well, you know someone who is just as good as you are because you guys took the same class. So you're going to recommend it to somebody else in your class. So just, it always starts right now where you're at. Don't take all of these networks and organizations and groups that you're a part of for granted. That is where you start. You don't have to join an official referral network or a networking group to start networking or get referrals. It starts right now where you are at.
Yeah. And in all the places that you go to naturally. So if you go to church, if you go to synagogue, wherever it is that you go to, you have sports leagues that you're a part of, or Rotary that you're a part of, you're networking at all of these events. People will ask you what you do naturally. That's just a natural conversation of how it goes. So don't take any of those things for granted. And I will tell you this, it's like social media. You don't have to do them all. You do the ones that you're comfortable with. Start with one, get comfortable there, and then start to expand out as you need to. And so that's kind of my best advice for networking, especially if you're not used to it. So we are going to go, because it is 9 o'clock and I want to respect everyone's time. I'm not sure if Greg has to be up early in the morning or not. No, Greg's on Thursday. So Greg, we're good for Greg. But I want to make sure we respect everyone's time. So I'm going to say, I'm sure my students have lots of questions, and then no one's going to ask anything. So I'm going to say, does anyone have a question? Please raise your hand, because if there's multiple questions, we want to make sure we get everybody in an orderly manner. So Daniela, go ahead.
I have a question about HST. So I guess the question's for Rob.
Yep, okay.
Trish has mentioned about how when she does her finances for her business, she follows like a rule of thirds. So she has like a third towards taxes, a third towards her business, and she pays herself a third. Is that what you kind of recommend for people to do? I just like when it comes to tax time, we don't want to like be like, oh no, I don't have enough money for HST or whatever. So how do we divide our stuff up?
Whatever works for you, like that's not a method I would use, but if it works for Trish, I'm not going to say don't use it because it's a method that works well for you. I said and before I have a client that she has 4 operating bank accounts. One that runs her business, one for HST, one for rent, and one for payroll. So she's absolutely paranoid about not having enough money in the bank account to pay for source deductions or pay for rent. So what she does is she transfers a quarter of the month's rent. So let's say her rent was $2,000. So every week she puts a $500 transfer into her rent account. That's how she operates. All the HST she collects, she puts in the HST bank account. It's a bit excessive, but that's her comfort zone.
Mhm.
So to answer your question, if you want to do the thirds, that's what's going to happen is after a couple of quarters, you're going to see, okay, maybe I'm putting too much in the HST account, you adjust it. Maybe I'm not putting enough in, then you adjust it.
Mhm. And so when I look at my HST, when I'm doing my rule of thirds, I'm not just looking at my HST, I'm also looking at my taxes at the end of the year and what I might have to pay at the end of the year. So I kind of double them up and
What what I didn't address was income taxes and about that.
mhm.
That's leaving the taxes to
Another time. So
another
David
time.
does have to leave, but does anyone have a question for David that they would like to ask currently? No, not at this point. Okay, so David did post in the chat there that he does do a workshop, and it is a free workshop. I've been to it, it's fabulous. Grab his email from the chat, please, before you leave. And again, I'm going to send all of this information out. David, thank you so much. I know that you have an early meeting because tomorrow's Wednesday. So I know that you have an early meeting tomorrow, and I'm grateful and I'm full of gratitude. Thank you very much for coming.
You're very welcome, and great to hear the other experts, business people on the call. And all the students out there, good luck. Just again, just what do you want from your business, and then just build it from there. So everyone, take care, and hopefully we'll see you around.
Thanks,
Thank
David.
you.
Bye.
You're welcome.
All right. Who else do we have? Who has? Okay, Fabian has a question. He has his hand up.
Yep. And I lost where I wrote down the question. I think it was Annette that was talking about breaking down your receipts and your expenses and everything into buckets. Kind of full disclosure, I have ADD, so when I start to break something down, it's a little hard for me to know when to stop. Like, do you have any rule of thumbs where or how deeply you have to divide and subdivide, how to categorize things?
So the only thing that is really critical is for you to isolate the HST that you pay on your expenses. Because if you register to charge HST, then you can claim all the HST on your receipts. So I wouldn't go into, like if you're breaking down a Staples receipt, all you need to know is it an expense or did you buy something major, like a desk? Other than that, the only thing that's important is the HST to pull out. So don't get into too much detail. Don't get bogged down into what's toner, what's paper. It doesn't matter. It's a bucket of office supplies and then the HST.
May I just add something there? Everybody got a piece of paper? Write down this T2125. T2125.
That's an awesome schedule.
Okay. Do a Google search on T2125 that is the schedule that you will need to add to your personal tax return. So on that, we'll have a list of your expense buckets.
Perfect.
And those are the buckets. So this is how Rob explained it. These are the buckets that CRA cares about. They don't care how you separate it in your bookkeeping, but this is what they want to know.
This is what I have to put on the tax return.
Yes.
Don't make up any new buckets.
Yeah.
These buckets already exist.
Yeah.
This is what the CRA wants to know. And so you create buckets. You're going to have office supplies, you're going to have business taxes and fees and associate memberships, you're going to have meals. So put all your receipts into these buckets because
And
it'll make your accountant really happy.
And can I add even more to that? Guys, your accountant does not need to get all of your receipts. They don't. He doesn't, Rob does not even want to see your
I
receipts.
don't want to see your receipts. I
He
just
doesn't
want
want
to
to see
see.
your receipts. Yeah,
I
he's not
just
doing
see-
an audit.
No, I just want to see this spreadsheet or their software with this report. That's all I want to see.
Yeah. Or
So-
if you want, you can even take that schedule, the T2125 that he gave you. And if you keep all of your expenses organized on an Excel spreadsheet, you can take that schedule and you can fill in the blanks. There's a spot to put the dollar amount. It'll save a lot of time and it saves you money.
Mm-hmm.
Mama.
All
That's
right.
great. Thank you both.
Carol.
Yeah, sort of connecting to that. What about items that you don't necessarily have a receipt for? Like, so for example, I buy a lot of my photography equipment, at least some of the more expensive stuff used, like lenses and the camera body off of like Kijiji. So I don't have any record of that sale. Can I still like claim anything on that? Or like how do I
Yes, you can. Yes,
those
you
expenses?
can. And it just what I tell my clients is we need to operate in case of an audit. So whenever I'm meeting with them, I say, okay, there's three of us here. Pretend there's a third person here. There's a CRA auditor here, and he's going to ask you. He wants to see proof. He wants to see proof that you bought something. And if you do not have proof, then it's up to them. They will decide whether to disallow it or not. But from my experience, somebody starting out in business, they're not going to be asked. Well, that's not giving you permission to falsify anything. It's just that you have to be truthful, honest, reasonable, fair, and makes it feel good in your heart. You don't want to, it has to feel good here first.
And I get a lot of clients, you know what they do? They print off the ad. So if they're buying something on Facebook Marketplace, they actually print off the advertisement. So then at least CRA can see that it's logical that you did buy it, that, you know, so it's something, it's better than nothing.
So when I do that, if I'm doing, so what I tend to do is that if I'm buying something that's off of Marketplace or I'm paying cash for something, I take the receipt from the machine that I've taken out this money, I mark it down. So hopefully you can get out the exact amount. Sometimes you can't. So if I have to take out 800 and I'm paying $780 and they just, you know, they sent me a bunch of 50s, then I mark it on the receipt, attach it to the message, or if I'm doing an e-transfer, I generally try to do an e-transfer so that this way I literally have it, and then put a note in, say, I'm going to send you an e-transfer. And I don't like to send e-transfers before I've actually seen the product anyway. So I'll stand there with that person as I'm purchasing and send the e-transfer right away. So they know they've gotten it. I know they've gotten it. And then I have a record of it that I can attach, and it literally says who it's to and what it's for in the e-transfer. But if I'm having to do cash, then I'll print out the message and I'll attach the receipt that I took the money out from the bank, because they just want to account for what you're spending on. Like, not that they care, they just want to know that you're being truthful about it. That's all.
And it's reasonable. That's the key, is reasonable.
Yeah.
So you don't want to see $10,000 for a used camera body.
Yeah. Well, I
敲
mean,
我
there
干
are
嘛？
some.
我都没
I
见
know
过
there
那
are,
个塔，我都不知道那个塔。
But they want it, yeah, and it's like,
嗯
well, okay, but
你
you
的
only
塔这么
claimed
高，我怎么知道是你
$20,000 on
的？
your income tax this year, and but you
你这
have
个就
a
有大有小啊，我
$200,000
怎么知道？
set
要
of
去
equipment that you're claiming
我
that
不知
you've
道
just
什么是
purchased. Well,
塔，
how is
我
that
都不
possible
玩
that
那
you
个
only
东西，
made
别问
20
我，
grand
把
when
自
you've
己的东
spent
西自己做好
200,000?
吧。
And that's where, and I mean, that's obviously extreme, but
I know you
that's
can
kind
go
of the process I think that they go
everywhere.
to.
so
Take
you
a
were listening to my
401.
infomercial about fair market value assessment.
Oh, totally. See, look,
现
I'm
在会
getting
出
it.
来
I'm
啊。
getting it. All right. Do we have other questions for
我
anyone?
是
All right, Raheel, go ahead.
So my question is, if you're doing photography as a part-time gig and you're making under 30K, are you still allowed to claim your gear within the 30K?
$30,000 has nothing to do with your assets. $30,000 is when you have to start charging HST. You could, you know, you're gonna buy your cameras, your lighting, your computer. You're gonna buy all that stuff, and you may not make any money in the first year.
Forever. 他
And
不
is
会
it
放
is it good
forever， 他
to
肯定
keep
在房子里。
the receipts for records? Say if CR
你是
does
在外面
wanna
丢的，那就是 gone。
You need
你
to
在
keep your
房子里
receipts
丢
for
的
7 years.
will come out one day.
Yep. I will tell you now, start investing in those plastic filing buckets. I have about 10 of
不是
them
寄
for
给
the
你
last,
的
even
钱，
though I only need for the
还是
7,
说
I
那
usually
种
keep the extra
家
year or
人
two
的
just in case because
say
I'm crazy
something
like that.
very mean
And
because it
so,
doesn't
and then
happen.
you can just start to recycle them. And so I have,
这样的思
I
考
went to Staples, bought those plastic buckets so that I can then put my year in it. I put my personal taxes in it. I put my business stuff in it. My husband's stuff in it. It's all there. So if CRA ever comes back to me and says, well, I want to look at,
somebody say
2019,
mean things,
okay, here's your
take it
bucket, go
back.
have fun with it. It's all there, right? Or Rob can go through it and I can say, Rob, they're gone, oh my God. And then Rob can go, it's okay, you've got a bucket. And it's full of stuff that he can use to then deal with CRA for me. So yeah, there are certain things like, here's the thing, guys, when it comes down to professionals and using professionals, and I've said it before, you do what you do best, you outsource the rest. When it comes to taxes, CRA, money tracking, that kind of stuff, you don't want to mess around with it. There's just certain things that you do want to invest in, right? So I say always invest in good equipment because good equipment isn't going to let you down. You're not going to have to replace it every single year, right? Like the dollar store pens, you have to replace those like every other week. But if you invest in good equipment, you'll have it for quite some time. If you invest in, someone like Rob and Annette to help you with the things that you truly don't know about, yes, it's an investment, but understand they're saving you time and frustration. And same thing with Greg, like people who are literally invested in doing what they do, they're invested in that because they know how to do it for you faster, quicker, and better. This is what, and in turn, they're not going to turn around. None of these people have taken, well, actually, no, I've taken Annette's headshots. I've taken Rob's headshots. I haven't gotten to Jessica or Greg yet. Don't worry, I'm making my way down the line. Like I have a goal. Everybody in BNI is going to have one of my headshots. So including the other 5 photographers that are in BNI, we're literally doing a play date in a couple of months to do branding sessions for each other. So it's one of those things that, I invest in professionals because I know I'd rather spend time working on my business than be flustered and frustrated trying to make all the other things happen. And if you are super organized, hence why we're doing this, if you are super organized at the beginning, and I come to Annette and I have, Annette doesn't like buckets of shoe boxes with receipts. Well, she loves them, but at the same time, she doesn't love them. But if you went to Annette with, okay, I have the first quarter, the first 3 months, I have January, February, March, all here, and April, all here, all organized, and you have all of the pieces of the information. She can now take that information and put it into the system for you. If you're not, I'm good at invoices. I hate putting in expenses. So I don't want to see what I spent, but I love knowing what I make, right? So I bring that to her and then she puts it in for me. So I know it's going to the right place. because I always get confused about what bucket it's supposed to go into, and I'm highly critical about where I want to see things. And so now it takes her less time to do that. The less time it takes her, the less she's charging you as a professional, because you've already got half the work done for her, right? And then Rob doesn't need to do all of that bookkeeping stuff. He just wants to see the final numbers, and that's what he's working on for you. So you actually are saving money by being responsible and being organized, but at the same time, all that money that you've just saved, you can now put that back into your business and grow your business or make more money. Because for the 2-3 hours that I would be sitting here trying to figure out where the hell my receipts go and what bucket they go into, that 2-3 hours I could be doing a shoot, or I could be doing marketing, or I could be doing networking, which is going to ultimately make me money for my business, not a take away from my business. And so that's what, when we say, do what you do best and outsource the rest, or I'm going to totally steal that, Rob, forever now. But it truly does make sense. Where should your money go, right? Go ahead, Annette.
I just wanted to add to something, a comment that you made, and we've talked about it here, networking and building relationships. It's really important to have, if you're going to go out on your own, it's really important to have the mindset that people that do what you do are not necessarily competitors. They can become a really strong referral partner for you. And it's fitting that Rob is in this Zoom, because I joined BNI and Rob held the accountant seat. I'm a designated accountant. I took the bookkeeping seat, and you would think that we'd be competitors. Rob and I work actually very, very well together. And the relationship that Rob and I have built has become very valuable to me. Not just for business, but if I need to talk to somebody or vent to somebody who understands what I'm going through, he's the guy I think about, because he understands, right? And so it's really important that when you go out there, build relationships with other photographers, because you never know if they get double booked for a wedding, guess who they're going to refer to, or if everybody, as you go through your profession, you're going to build a niche. And so somebody's going to call you, and I know I don't do headshots, I do weddings, but Trish does headshots. So it's really, really important to not shy away from people that you think are perceived as competitors. They could become a good friend.
So I shoot events, as everyone knows here, and I actually went to the home show at the Bradford Greenhouse up here in Barrie a few weeks ago. And I had several businesses saying, "Oh, do you do real estate photography? Will you come out and photograph, landscape designs and stuff?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I teach that stuff, but I'm going to give you a photographer who really likes doing it." And I actually referred a photographer in our network, Sarah Tennant, and she's like working with 2 companies now from those referrals. And I literally was in a place that I could just be grabbing all kinds of business for myself, but that's not my forte. And so, and I know from her perspective, she doesn't really want to do headshots. She really wants to focus in on real estate and that kind of stuff. So it was a really easy thing to be able to do that referring. And what really makes it awesome is that I know who she is. I know she's part of a network that I'm in, so I know I can trust her. I know that she, stands up for what she believes in, her quality of service. And because we have that connection, it's funny, and we've talked about this in our class about, some people can be pretty like non-collaborative, and it can be pretty scary. And as artists, we're always like, are we good enough? Are we good enough? We don't want to share our work because we're scared that someone is gonna, tell us we're awful. And I've always promoted a collaborative effort in this classroom, and to reach out. And literally I took business that I could have put into my pocket, and instead I passed it on to another photographer, because I knew that, one, that was the best thing for that client. I'm going to show up not wanting to do the work. I'm not going to do a great job for him. I'm going to pass it on to Sarah. When they say to Sarah, "Hey, we really need headshots and branding, can you do that?" No, she's going to pass that right back to me, because she knows that's something that I am more passionate about and that I do really well at. And so that's how it works when you're working in a network that's collaborative, that you're focusing in on what you do well, versus what you do at a mediocrity level, right? So looking at that, so I'm glad that you brought that up. Does anybody have any other questions? I feel like Greg is just sitting there waiting. Somebody asked me about Chat GPT. Somebody asked me about the AI. All right, Yana, go for it.
Hi. First of all, thanks so much for amazing presentations. I think I have two questions, one for Greg, and it's probably a short one. Do you think it's possible to do it by ourselves, like SEO and things like that, or should we find a specialist for that? Then I do have another question for Jessica.
So short answer in the interim, yeah, you can tackle SEO to a degree. There's on and off page stuff that you can do, and there's lots of HubSpot is a great venue to talk that will talk about doing SEO. There's a few different that are completely escaping me. Brilliant. Must be because it's late and I am an early morning person, Trish. I'll be up in 6 hours regardless of what time this ends. But yeah, you can do it, but it does get very technical. Some of the back end when you need to start to interject with code and that type of jazz can get to be a challenge. But here's where you can leverage AI. Help me do this. People that code for a living, that's what they do, are using these models to help them fix problems with code they can't figure out. So yes, the bigger question is, do you want to be spending your time doing the SEO relative to keeping your pipeline full of prospective clients, doing that photography work and that type of jazz? It's for the interim, yes. Long term, you want to wash that stuff off to somebody else to do, and that goes for all sorts of different aspects. So you can work on your business and build it.
Open
And then Yana, you had another question for Jessica?
Yeah, I had another question. So Jessica, I was just wondering if you have in mind any other business communities or organizations except of BNI that would work good for networking, and also including the ones that maybe don't have memberships or high fees.
So what city are you from?
Oakville.
Oakville. Okay. So Oakville is pretty happening, actually. There's a lot of stuff and there's a lot of business and money being passed in Oakville right now, too. So there will be lots of opportunities. So just go to Google tonight and go Oakville networking events. See what comes up. There's also events.com. So you could put in your city and again, do networking, see what comes up. And then again, I would go to Facebook and do Oakville business and join the Facebook groups and scan in the last 2 weeks and see what's there. You can also go to Facebook events. So if you go into Facebook on your app and you go to the main page, where it actually gives you the options. Let me pull it up to tell you exactly what I'm doing here. So if you click on your little picture at the bottom of the Facebook app, it takes you to your name, your groups, events, pages, memories, all of that. Click on events and you can do near me, any date, and scroll through all those Facebook events and see what you can find in your area. Is Oakville near Pickering?
No, it's the other side.
Mississauga, between Mississauga and Burlington.
Right, okay.
So Burlington, Mississauga, Milton, this area.
Yeah.
There's a network down there that I started in that I absolutely loved when I was down there. I was really a part of that community, and a lot of their stuff is done early. So for me to make it from Barrie to down there is not, well, when I say early, they start at 10, but it's still by the time I drop my kids off at 9 and rush down to there. It's called MOB. So it's Mississaugan area women in business. So it is, and I've actually sent other female photographers there. And it is all about, that's where I found the organizer who took my camera and said, go and be there. And Christine Hall is just incredible. As far as the organizer, that that space there it's a safe space. It's very a lot of education comes out of there, and there's a lot of amazing women. The person who helped me find my house, she was a member of the mob, and I was her first client ever. She had just received her license. So, and I met her through the mob. So, and that's what they call it, the mob. It's hilarious because the anagram is so perfect, but it's literally the Mississauga area women in business.
There's a couple other ones that are like franchised, but there's a smaller cost to it. Like there's one called Fem City. I don't know if they have one in in Oakville, but they might have one in Mississauga. So that one is strictly just for women. But they have a great networking opportunity there. And if you're anything like me, where if there isn't any networking opportunities for free, you can always start one on your own.
Great.
It just starts with social media and doing a couple posts, and you could do it for free. I built, when I first had my children, I built a mom's group to 2,000 people within less than a year, all organically, all on Facebook and Instagram. So it is like no ads, nothing. It is possible to build your network. And that's how I met the majority of the people who live in Barrie, who I have helped expand my network, and it introduced me to new people. So be a driver. Like those people are the ones that are going to get out there. You don't have to be an expert. You just need to have the drive to meet people. That's all you need.
Well, and that's how the mob started. It started with like 3 ladies meeting at a Starbucks or something. And they started there, and then those 3 women told 3 other women, and then when they reached 20 people at the Starbucks, they're like, yeah, we need a space. And now the space that they have fits about 60 to 70 people, and they are every single time. It's like $20 to go to whichever meeting you decide to go to. And they're like literally sold out every single time. So people are rushing to get in there because it's literally that. It's that building the relationship. It's fabulous to walk in there. The energy there is fantastic. So there's lots of opportunity, and you can look on an Eventbrite and things like that as well, which will give you opportunity. So let's go up to Fabian as well. So Fabian, go ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Trish. Couple of questions for Greg. I think you mentioned somebody who talked about storytelling during your presentation. Something like Simon Sinek. I don't know if I captured that right.
Yeah, Simon Sinek is a human behaviorist, basically, I guess is the best way to kind of describe him. He does a lot of corporate coaching, guidance, and that type of jazz. He talks about how most companies never get to the why. They have the what, they have the how, they don't know the why. And when you elevate yourself to the why you do something, that I can't remember what the statistical reference is to it, but it skyrockets the likelihood that someone's going to buy something from you, right? Because you're emoting all sorts of emotion, you're engaged, you're very passionate. And he references Apple when he talks about it, right? I mean, Apple and Nike are kind of classic examples of it. They sell lifestyles. Yeah. They don't really talk about the fact that they make laptops and iPads and iPhones and whatever else. They sell lifestyle. That's what they're doing. They're in the market of selling lifestyle. They just happen to have all these other products. They really don't talk about it, right? They've elevated themselves to why. So if you think about why are you doing this, and you can figure out how to articulate why you're into photography, it's just going to take especially when you get into a networking event, it's going to put you in a whole different realm, right? You're now going to people will move to that type of enthusiasm when they talk about what they're doing, right? And the storytelling aspect spin to that is, how do you put the smile on your client's face, right? You talk about things you've done to better their life or solve their problems, whatever it happens to be. And you're not just talking about features and benefits of what you do, right? I don't know if I explained it very well. I'm not good at articulating myself.
Oh, no, you did great. So we've discussed this, guys. So remember what I said to you. I sell an experience. The photos are the byproduct of what you're going to get from that experience. But in the meantime, you're going to get and feel like a queen when you're when I'm working with women. You're going to get and feel like a queen when you're here for the day. You're going to have, yeah, I have all these other things that I do, but oh my gosh, the energy and the positivity and the beauty, and you're going to feel amazing. And so I focus in on the experience that the women that I'm working with will receive. I focus in on the experience of the branding session with me, and what, yes, the benefits and features, but more about how is it going to relate to them and their business? Why is this experience better than just working with somebody else who's $200 and let me send you 600 photos and, there's no meaning to it, right? So creating the experience for the client is what you're selling. And Simon says, I love it when I believe it's Simon that said, fortune is in the follow-up, right? Like it's not about that right that moment there. 99% of the time, most people are not going to buy right then and there, especially when you're talking about $2,000 photo sessions. But if I sit and have a conversation with you and go through the experience and talk about how you're going to feel and how your family is going to feel seeing these photos of you, how you're going to feel at the end seeing the photos of you, the experience that you're going to have, that peace of mind, the professionalism that comes with that. That's when that follow-up works, because now you're talking to them and you're not trying to sell them, right? So fortune is always, I love Simon. Simon's awesome. Simon says. So
There was something else I wanted to ask Greg. Another cross-reference you mentioned. You were at a presentation about AI, you said, and there was somebody that said that AIs are thunkers and people are the thinkers.
Yeah, it's the head of DeepMind. It's the head engineer for Google. She presented at a Marketing AI Institute conference last year in Cleveland, and that's how she distilled it down, right? She was trying to get it down into, she was basically talking about what jobs are sticking around and what jobs aren't. And, anytime you have a technological innovation, there's always going to be job loss. It's just, look at the whole evolution, right? It's a bunch of horses that got put out when, motors got invented because they weren't pulling plows in, right? I mean, it's just an unfortunate necessity of evil. The way she distilled it down was, these are not, these things aren't all of a sudden going to take over the world anytime soon, right? There's no self-awareness yet. The Schwarzenegger movie's not happening anytime soon, but you've got these models that what you need to do is you figure out how do you leverage them, right? So the creativity and the thinking aspect is going to stay in the realm of a human at this point in time, but the heavy lifting is going to get pushed out into a synthetic. It's basically how she distilled that down is to the human's going to do the thinking and then going to get the synthetic to do the thunking, which is basically go crunch all this data, the stuff that the synthetic's really good at. And the creative side is where the humans are. That's why, the whole underlying message on a lot of it was artistic copyright, photography, the ability to articulate in that realm. I can't do it. Like if we sat down with Midjourney side by side and tried to do something, you guys would crush me on your ability on, no, I need to change the light in whatever intervals you talk about light. You get with a whole different product, right? That's what they're talking about is how do you leverage these tools, which they are tools, to augment your business. Now that may not be for image creation for you guys, but it could be for a whole bunch of other things, right? I need help writing this business plan.
mm-hmm.
I've been
What
using
do I do with my taxes that does not land me in jail when the CRA comes to audit me?
Yeah. I've
Right.
actually been using ChatGPT for a little while in Wally more recently. Do you often go to AI conferences or like what was
We're trying to keep our fingers plugged into what's going on in that realm, which you unplug for more than a month and it's a whole different world when you come back. So yes, we try and keep a pulse with it. I mean, we've got a big group and we have two dedicated, that's all they do. Two guys full-time, 50 hours a week is what's going new in AI. And every Monday we sit down and understand what the heck's changed. So we're trying to keep our head plugged into it, but we'll play with it, understand what it is and what it can do for you and what it can't, because that's the big thing, right? Just because it spits something out, it is not gospel, right?
Mhm.
You need subject matter experts are going to remain relevant for a long, long, long time, because just because you go in and ask it to write something for you, don't take it verbatim. You need to fact check and gut check still. It's not a perfect system, but it can do some pretty wicked things like that. Like I was telling Trish, right? You can go take a picture of your pantry and say, all right, what can I make for the next week for meals? And it'll tell you what you can make with what's based on the images it pulls out of your pantry. So its recognition of photography, of images, is unbelievable. Like this shouldn't be new really to anybody, but I mean, 10 years ago, the synthetics surpassed the top radiologists on the planet for identifying cancer in scans. Like that's how this tech is. This is the stuff that was 10 years ago that's now come to light now. So what are the big guys doing right now that hasn't come out yet? That's the wild part of it. Where is it going? It's neat stuff.
That's very cool. Thank you.
No problem.
I think we just need to leverage what is available. I think people are so scared about technology, and you have to remember that it's people who created technology. So use it to your advantage. They're creating this technology to be helpful. Do I say go write an entire history exam with AI? Absolutely not. Do I say write your entire business plan using AI? Absolutely not. But if it is something that when you do not have, as I said, sometimes it takes me a long time to write something that's extraordinarily articulate. And if I'm spending 8 hours to write an email that's articulate, when I can just say, okay, here's my beer and peanuts version of this, and how do we write this in a professional, kind manner? And I plug it in and then I proofread it. And yes, it would sound exactly the way I would write something, then go for it. Why not? But if you're using it unethically to write a history exam or write, a paper or a thesis or something like that, then yeah, no, AI is not a good tool to use. But using it to leverage your business, leverage, some fun facts. I mean, I've literally had conversations with AI. I'm like, how are you doing today? And they're like, well, I'm fine. How are you? Like it literally has that conversation. It's really fun, actually.
That's how you need to converse with it, though. That's how
Yeah.
you have to converse with it. You have to converse like you're talking to a person.
Yeah.
It's going to interact. I mean, if you use the app on the phone, there's an audible option with it. You can just have a conversation with it. It's wild.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I really, like I said, there are certain things that I am looking forward to and learning how to use Midjourney and how to create I would love to sell digital backdrops. So it's just a matter of learning from that point of how to what's the wording I need, how do I use it? I like suck when it comes to that kind of stuff. But technology isn't always my friend. Sometimes it takes me a little while to wrap my head around it. But once I have it, I'm like, boom, I'm all over it. Like, yeah, it's crazy. All right. Do we have, I'm sorry, Fabian.
I was just saying it's evolution and adaptation. Things aren't going to go away just because you don't like it. You have to accommodate it and learn it and work with it.
That's exactly it. All right. So does anybody have, sorry, Fabian, does anybody have any other questions? Go ahead, Danielle.
Sorry. My question would be related or geared more towards like a banker, but we don't have one. So I'm wondering if maybe one of the accountants could help me out. I'm just curious. We just did our business plan, and I'm just curious, if one of us wanted to go to the bank to look into getting a business loan, do you know what they would be looking for specifically? Are they just looking like, hey, what are your sales? What are your projections? Like, would you know?
It's funny because this would have been a great question for either Tyvee or for Shelley as far as loans and stuff and investments. And of course, they're not here. So now you're making me think for next panel we need to. But
I won't be here for the next one.
Sorry.
If you're going for a loan, having never gone for a business loan, I don't know what they'd actually be looking for. Different banks have different rules, and those rules change from time to time. If you're you're going for a big loan, you go to BDC. Well, BDC is a government agency, so their credit criteria is going to be a lot different than TD or Royal Bank. But they're going to want personal guarantees right off the get-go. And they're going to say, what is it you want the money for? And what will be your probability of paying us back?
Right.
So you need to convince them of that. A good business plan will help that, because with the business plan here, you have your revenue projection, you have your SWOT analysis and your strategic plan, and you laid out your expenses and where you're going to go from there. So a good business plan is your first start.
Can I add something in as from not an accountant point of view, but from a business owner point of view, starting a new business semi-recently? My husband, when he started his business, he had to present a whole business plan. They needed everything. And 10, 15 years ago, when I was in a totally different point of my life and my girlfriend was starting a business, she had to put together a huge business plan. When I went a few years ago to start a brand new account, they did not need a business plan at all, but it helped because I had been with my bank for a long time and I had that relationship with them already. So it was easier to get a credit card. However, when I went in for a loan, they said, no, there's just not, you haven't had a business long enough. So recently, like maybe 3 years after my business started, I went in and I said, I'd like a loan. And then they said, here are your options. So it does take time to build up to that point. Have your business plan ready, prepared just in case they do ask for it, because some have. I wasn't asked for that at all. It was really just looking at everything that is in front of them on the computer. But I would also check out, if you Google government grants and loans, and they give you a whole list of all sorts of things that are available to you. And it's like, there's ones that if you're a business owner and a woman under 40, I think, or under 30, that there's a specific one for you. If there's one, if you're looking for a marketing grant, there's a certain one for like, I think 2,500. So there's all different types of grants that are out there and loans that are out there. There's also, I think we have Small Business Ontario, which is a great place for you to reach out to, and they might be able to put you in touch with people who are giving out loans and grants. That would be great for people who are just starting out. That is from my opinion of starting a small business with nothing.
Well, I'm
I
not
was gonna
planning
say the
on
same
it alone.
thing.
It's just, curious.
Well, and part of that too is when we talked about creating your business bank account, when you are ready to walk in for a loan, when the bank sees your business plan, and some banks actually have their own sort of website that you go in and you click all the buttons and fill in from them, where you're not physically bringing your own, but you're filling in what they are required or what they require. But that being said, having a history of what you're producing. So when people say to me, oh, should I just take cash? And I'm like, no, it has to go through your account, because then first of all, you're being honest. That's number one. Number two, when you decide that you're going to go for a loan and you say to the bank, I need a $100,000 loan because I'm going to open up a brand new studio, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to look at your history, even if you've been in business for 10 years and you're just asking for a loan now. They're going to be like, well, in 10 years, you've never ever cracked $100,000. Meanwhile, you might be driving a BMW or a Mercedes, but they don't know that because you paid cash. So the idea is to show them that as a sole proprietor, when I had my business and the last 10 years, I've consistently made an income. So you can see that the income's coming in. So when I ask for the loan, I'll be able to still pay it. And that's what they want to see. That's where they're tracking with.
Doesn't your credit also kind of applies for?
Absolutely. And so you definitely want to make sure that your credit, and that's just for anything you do, whether it's your business, whether it's buying a home, buying a car, credit cards, all the things like it's just super important to have good credit with regards to that.
Just reminded me too, I just had a conversation with my banker 2 weeks ago, and he told me that there is a brand new loan that just came out, And there's not too many things that you have to do to qualify for this loan, but the only way that you do need to qualify is they need to see that there's a constant flow of money coming in and money coming out of your bank account. So if you have already your business account set up and they can see this, then you can apply for this new loan. I can't remember what it's called, but it is a brand new one that just came out. So you can ask your bank about that one.
And I will tell you, there is a difference between a loan and a grant. A grant, they are giving you this money. You do not have to pay it back. A loan is something that you pay back.
But a grant works differently. Typically, a grant, they will want you to spend the money first,
yes,
produce a receipt, and then they reimburse you. So
yes.
always have that in mind. If you're planning on getting a grant, you will have to put out the $2,500 first before you get that money back.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Any other questions at all? Okay, Kara.
So I guess this one's for Jessica. We were talking a lot about networking and putting the work into like build that network and to find networking events. How much of, or like what portion of like a weekly schedule should you allocate just towards networking?
I would say that if you have the availability to at least attend something once a week. And that is just to keep things current, keep meeting people, and you keep building those relationships. You can't build a relationship with one moment. You'll keep running into certain people at certain networking events, and you'll end up building those relationships naturally through running into them. That reminds me, one other thing is going back into, I think it was Yana that asked, what are the other places that you can go to? Check out the Chamber of Commerce. So most of the Chamber of Commerce have something called an After 5 event. Typically all of the Ontario ones do. And it happens once a month, and it'll have it at a member's location, and it's a great way to go visit. They want you to become a member, and it's really inexpensive to become a member, but you can go to those After 5 events for free, I believe. I mean, check in with your chamber. I think you have to register, but they just want a space for people to come, and you'll end up meeting a lot of the same people, but it's the great way of really building up that relationship with somebody and building that trust.
When I started off in business, I was living in Barrie, but no experience in Barrie. And I went to networking meetings. I had dance cards or one-to-ones, what we call it in BNI now. And so I would have coffee with just about anybody who was walking, who were they're breathing, and I'd meet them at networking events and say, okay, let's go have a coffee. So I was meeting, if I wasn't working, if I wasn't doing anything on my job, or what's with that, in my job, on my job?
Working in my job or on my job.
Yeah, so if I wasn't doing actual physical work, I was meeting somebody for coffee. And that's how you get to know people. And then I joined the board. I joined the Chamber of Commerce, and I became a board member of the United Way, and I joined Rotary. So get to know people through service clubs. Find a service club or a charity that you're passionate about, and then get on the board and do volunteer work with that charity. And then I joined BNI.
And it all changed from there.
18 years ago, I joined BNI, and it's my only marketing dollars. It's the only advertising I do.
And he had such a great experience that his son is also in BNI as well.
And so
and they both do very well with BNI.
yeah, and it's Rob and Rob. That's it. Like in our chapter, and both of them are in my chapter. So of course it's like, hey, Rob, and they both look. So it's and they're fantastic. And so the one thing that I have to, if you can visit, and I'm not trying to sell you BNI. That's certainly not what we're here for, but I will tell you this, if you want to set a standard of networking to understand how to properly network or learn, if you've never been, visit a chapter. You can certainly do that for free. You get the opportunity to go and visit as a guest at various chapters a couple of times just to kind of check it out. And see how a proper meeting would be run, so that you at least have something to work off of. The one thing that I have noticed with, as far as this particular platform, is that it has a multitude of things that it offers. Not only does it offer the building the relationships, which is super important to me in my business, because that's how I do my networking. But there's education involved, which is super important to me as well. Not only how to network, but how to work on my business too. And it offers like so many different social aspects, because as entrepreneurs, as you guys start building your businesses, you'll understand that you do get a social life, but only another entrepreneur will understand when you say, oh my God, I've worked 80 hours this week and I feel like I've done absolutely nothing. And they understand all of that comes with it, the stress, the pressure, and you can talk to your partner or your spouse about it, but they'll never truly understand when someone is working for someone else. They never truly understand the life of an entrepreneur and someone who has to just be constantly aware. And so the one thing that I enjoy about this particular network for me is that with there comes growth. We do have specific criteria. You were asking about how much time to invest. We have something we call the power of one. And so that is attending a meeting per week. So that's like an hour and a half. It's doing one education unit. So learning for yourself and your business, that's an hour. And then there's a one-to-one, which is what we consider meeting with somebody else in our chapter or someone within our network, and having a conversation and learning about their business and how you can help them and how they can help you.
What I would, sorry, just to interrupt, but what I would recommend too is that because you guys are brand new in your business, my goal for you would be to really figure out your branding, your website, your social media, your niche, and building a community within the photographers and really building out from there first. And then when you have been in the business at least 6 months to a year and you have a business card, even though people still want them, so be prepared. You have a business card, you have a website, people want to see your pictures, you have a portfolio built. That's when you're ready to go to these bigger networking events like BNI or Chamber of Commerce or anything in the likes. Those ones, the Chamber of Commerce will tell you straight up, if you were in your first year of business, those events are not meant for you. They're going to be beyond what you're capable of providing for those people. So unless you have been tooth and nail, you're grinding and making sure that this is the right thing for you and you are like in it to win it, you probably are going to take a little bit of time before you're going to reach up to those points, because the people that are hanging out in those groups, they have been in the business for a while and they want to be impressed. So don't go unprepared. So have your business card, have your website, have your portfolio, have a couple Google reviews, whatever Greg has said and Nick has said about the whole marketing, figure that out first. And then you can go in, but work with the networks that you have now. You have each other. You're in a fitness group, a soccer group, and you do charity work. You have, someone I know is a beekeeper and he's a part of the Beekeeper Association. Like, what are you a part of right now that you can utilize? Really work within those people, work within your top 5. Do that first. Perfect that first. And then when you're ready, go to those ones that you're going to be impressive and they're going to go, who's this new kid on the block? And they're going to want to see your work.
Yeah, I often forget that I had to start, I started in the mommy groups because I was doing a lot of children's portraits and family photos. So I started there and just with people I knew in general. And the best referrals you'll get are from people who already know you anyway. And they'll be like, hey, I know a person, right? And you've already built a relationship with them. So now it's just introducing them to this other part of you and what you do. And so Jessica said, I tend to forget because I've been doing it for so long. But again, you start with what you've already got. And then once you fine tune everything, and dot the I's, cross the T's, make sure that you can present yourself in that professional manner. Because when you start going into these larger spaces with these professionals, they're expecting a higher level, professional level of service and professionalism, just in your overall the way you present yourself. So there's a lot to think about. We have 6 minutes left. So what I am going to say is thank you so much to my guests. I know it's past most of your bedtime because most of us get up at the crack of stupid to do business, as I call it. And so I am so grateful to every member who's here, who's part of my chapter, Jessica, Greg, not part of my chapter, but definitely in my world. And I appreciate you both so much for joining us. The wealth of knowledge that came out guys, this is probably the best panel we've had since I started bringing in a panel. Yes, you just brought, like, I mean, and every as Annette said to our membership when I last meeting, was like, all right, we need to verify. Our insurance guy was actually sick. Rick was sick, so he couldn't attend. He told me that this morning. He's like, if I feel better, I'll come, but I feel really crappy right now, so I might not be able to make it. So with every panel, we just get better, but trust the people who are around you, build a network of photographers around you, with each other, especially since you're in the same school. Trust the people in the school. Like, if you're looking for a copywriter, like, we have models in our school and people who are learning to do what you need them to do. And they need business headshots. So TFP, trade for photos, do what you can right
Barter.
now. The barter system when you are starting out is like the best system.
I did so
ever.
much bartering. That's how I started my business.
And every now and then I'll still do it, just because, you know what? I think, like, sometimes that barter system outweighs the cash part of whatever that might be. But understand, when you're bartering dollar for dollar. It's not what they might spend. If your session costs $1,000, then you're going to barter for $1,000 worth of services. That's how it works. But just like I said, I'm so grateful, Jessica, Greg, Rob, Annette, who am I missing? No, everybody. Nick is gone. But I am so grateful to come out and just give my students just such an impressive panel. You guys all made me look good, I'm just saying. And so I will have, if you did not get to copy everyone's, and David too. So if you did not copy down everyone's information, I will have everyone's information
You
here.
can save it, Trish.
What's that? Oh yeah.
Save the chat.
I will save the chat.
Everybody can do it. Just hit the hash brown on the top right corner and save chat, and it'll drop right into your.
Or be like me and take pictures.
That too. You save chat and go right
What I
into
did.
right
I
into
take
your
pictures
files.
with my cell phone.
Thank you for saving me some extra work. But yeah, so make sure you're getting that information. I'll save it as well. And then, so yeah, that's it for this evening. You guys, we actually finished on time for a change. Woohoo! Yay! And thank you again, Annette. Annette is one of my 5. I pretty much talk to her almost daily. Jessica, you're one of my 5. Pretty much talk to you daily. When we were going on that 5, I was like, Annette, Bruce, Jessica, and then I'm like, who else do I talk to? And I was like, I talk to Rob, IT, pretty much almost daily with the events and stuff going on. And then I was like, oh yeah, and my husband. I was like, that's it. Like, it's everyone. Like, I had to remember my husband, my 5. So it's interesting how your 5 will change too over time. But
it does.
Yeah.
Reevaluate every couple of months.
Every couple of months. All right, you guys, have a fabulous evening. To my students, we meet back here one more time. Same bat time, same bat channel. And Rob, thank you so much. You're always my go for it. I know you're
Remember, do what you do best and outsource the rest.
and we're still gonna end on that because that's the best statement ever. All right, you guys, have a fabulous week, and I will see my BNI family throughout the week, and I will see the Sheridan family next Tuesday.
Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
very
Thank you
much,
so
everyone.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Good night.
Bye. How do I get that silly thing that he was telling me to do now? Save chat. There it is. Right there. Yay. Perfect. Did you have any questions for me, Fabian?
I just wanted to mention something. I missed the submission in the electronic system by a few seconds. I sent you an email.
Okay, let me hold on 1 second. I'm going to do that. Oh, I have to talk to myself whenever I'm doing these things. So
That's okay. At
I know what I'm doing.
least you're talking to somebody who's in the room.
Right. Well, no, I talk to myself all the time. I actually think it's probably where I get the my best I give my best advice when I talk to myself. So, edit assignment.
Works. Talking out loud triggers a part of your brain that enhances logic.
That's right.
We actually
I
learned about it in the financial industry because it can help you suss out things you should not be doing.
Right. There we go. Okay, done. I moved it to tomorrow, so you should be okay now to submit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I sent it to you by email, but I'll submit it as well. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, because this way I grade it through here with the rubrics and stuff. So it's there. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Vivian. Have a